Marjorie Taylor Greene in New York Times outs Trump for protecting his friends on Epstein. Okay, everybody stop spamming shows that you want me to watch. Did Ukraine try to slime Putler? Taiwan tensions? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Red pill looks maxers don't want JD Vance. Call him fat. Holiday Hossy. Get in now. Are you gonna talk about Yemen? Wow, what's going on in Yemen? Hasana Whale just came in and dumped a shitload of money. I promise you these are 2 minutes apart. Who will attend Zohran Mamdani swearing in ceremony? What the fuck? It just got updated. Who's betting yes, Lamau? Wait, it went from 11% to 47%, or it went from it went down. It went from 11 to 42, or did it go from 42% to 11%? Wait, you told him you're swearing him in? I thought that was a secret. March, shut the fuck up. I hate this shit so much. I actually hate this shit. What the hell? Oh my God, it went up to 47%. Bro, this shit sucks so bad. This shit is so dumb. Please stop. I don't even want to entertain it. I don't even want to look at it. Okay? I don't want you guys to fucking make stupid bets as well. Anyway, how do we incorporate being fat into JD Vance's name? Maybe JD can't fit in his pants. Yeah. That's one way to do it. Okay. Do we have a blast off meme chatters? Saudi bombed a UAE ship in southern Yemen, so the two bad people are fighting. Oh, I did know that. Yes. Well, a couple days ago, the Ansar Allah government said that it's giving the all clear, the A-OK to the Saudi government for bombing the UAE, the UAE affiliates in Yemen. And I don't even know what kind of little scheming, wheeling and dealing they're doing over there, but yeah, the Saudi and the UAE forces are fighting one another in Yemen, and I guess the UAE is leaving Yemen. It just announced. Nice. Wow. After nonstop depressing news, can we do some good news? Your yearly dose of good news. Is there good news in the United States of America? I don't know. Asman has new vids of you, bud. ... Okay. I mean, he does it every day. What else is new? I think it should be, yeah, breaking news. Asman Gold, just like every other day, has done another video on your boy. And I'm sure it's totally fair and totally balanced. And definitely not lying about my positions and then having the dumbest people on the planet excited. Getting the dumbest people on the planet excited about a position that I do not hold. Anyway, do we have a blast off meme or not, chat? Because if not, I'm going to find some other shit. No blast off. Year-end gaming? Sure. If you stop mentioning him when chatters bring him up, your streams will get a lot more boring, trust. I don't think so. I think he's going to keep doing what he's been doing nonstop, because there's a big point. There's a big chunk of time where I don't actually mention him at all, and he still hasn't stopped at all. He still fucking keeps going. Okay, no blast off meme. All right, I'll find it myself. God damn it. Fuck it, we ball, you know? Here. Meta bought a Chinese AI company called Manus. I don't believe you for a second about gaming. Okay, boom. Okay, Manus is an Asian AI, can do stuff on your computer for you. Great. Love that. My anus. All right, we're blasting off. We're blasting off. We're blasting off. We're letting the people know we're live. We're alive. We're letting the people know we're live and alive. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, so if he acts the same regardless, then could we at least be saved from hearing about him? I think you drastically underestimate how many days in a row you mentioned him. No, of course I mentioned him all the fucking time. Chatter, at a certain point you have to recognize that this is like, one of the bigger content creators on the right. It's like, there's a reason why I don't mention Ben Shapiro anymore as much, right? I know you want to feel like a fucking adult and you feel like it's nasty. You feel like it's kind of dirty. You feel like it's kind of silly. It's kind of drama laden. to have a conversation about whatever the fuck like a dude who doesn't leave his house has to say. But unfortunately, there's a lot of dudes who don't leave their houses who actually treat him like a fucking god. The reason why I've been mentioning Ben Shapiro quite a bit as of late is because his fall off has become newsworthy in and of itself, right? And that's part of the reason why I've been mentioning Ben Shapiro more frequently. But there's a massive amount of time where I did not mention Ben Shapiro, and that's because he has no relevance, no motion, basically dead. You know. Real question, besides his stance on immigration, how is Asman on the right? He's for taxing rich people much more and universal health care. He's super anti-trans. Like he is incredibly socially conservative, and I don't really know how aggressive his interest is in terms of like free healthcare and whatnot. But once again, he is extremely leaning into the same deflections that right wingers use in an effort not to get any of these things across, right? Because the way I cover this shit all the time, is like a lot of this stuff is a red herring. Okay? A lot of this stuff is a red herring. Like, oh yeah, I want to fucking I want to tax the rich too. I want healthcare as well. Maybe he does. Maybe he truly does. And maybe he doesn't understand that when he's advocating for those things, but then simultaneously spending most of his time talking about like how immigrants are stealing this, immigrants are stealing that, and we need to like purge the American boundaries off of all of these like unwashed immigrant masses that are parasitic, blah blah blah. What he's doing is spending a good deal of time making people laser focus on a group of individuals that actually don't do any of the things that he's saying. And that's what it is, right? Even from a not from like a moralizing perspective about like, oh, immigrants are our neighbors, they're human beings too. And it's immoral to fucking shit on them and lie on their names all the time, especially at a time when the administration is using them as a cudgel and consistently fucking doing harm to them. Even from a pure logical perspective, any amount of time you spend alongside this administration, making it seem as though migrants, undocumented and documented alike, are actually hurting this country, is a moment where you are leaning into the propaganda of the administration. And as we have seen before, national socialism is not real socialism. It's just nationalism. That's what the Nazis did. So, but that's what it is. This is all just professional wrestling for dipshits. What is this? Alex Jones declares war on Candace Owens and those who support her. Oh my God, my goat. My goat, dude. He's doing it. Sad news for all the big guys out there. Nikola Jokic has been diagnosed with a hyperextension in his left knee and will miss at least 4 weeks. An immense sigh of relief as tests show the three-time NBA MVP's knee ligaments are intact. Yeah, that's crazy. I've been in that situation before. It's shocking because I feel like, it could have been much worse, but it also is kind of shocking because it's like, how much movement does Jokic actually engage in that you ever find yourself undocumented? You mean parasites? FTFY, you're calling illegal immigrants undocumented to make it seem palatable when you really should upscale. They're net negative contributors to us society. Another name for that is parasite. Brother, I'm going to keep it $1.50. I'm going to keep it very honest with you. Any undocumented immigrant is more worthwhile than you are as a person, okay? Immigrants are stealing shit. All this stuff is cope. It's just cope. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's just cope. They literally have the same interests as you do. There is nothing different about them than you. As a matter of fact, they're exploited even more than you, but they are massive contributors to America, and America would not be the country that it is without migrants, okay? And the only difference between an undocumented migrant and a documented one is just a piece of paper, okay? It's documentation. And that's the reason why I say undocumented migrant. But you know what? Keep doing it. Really, how many of them have been here for more than 12 months and have made zero effort to learn English? Brother, you only speak one language and you still barely have any command over it. And you're over here talking shit about people that are, once again, coming into the country and doing their very best to improve the country. Okay? They're taking on jobs that you're not going to take for price points that you're never going to take on those jobs for. And the real problem there is that we have to document them so that they can actually get higher wages, so that everyone can have higher wages in general. But people like yourself think mass deportations are going to somehow magically solve the issue, but they will not. And they have not, as you've noticed, they have not done that at all. Mass deportations have not actually solved any of the economic issues that you're experiencing. And it's pretty funny to be like, they're illegal. This is one of my favorite things that right wingers do, for the record, where they think it's like magic words, right? This is the opposite side of like social justice warriors who want to sanitize language. Social justice warriors, people on the left, people who are liberal, people who are progressive want to sanitize language. They want to make it clinical. They will get mad at you if you say homeless instead of like one devoid of house or something like that, right? They'll be like, why would you not say unhoused? You should say unhoused. And there's some truth to like language normalizing certain aspects of dehumanization, right? But this is the opposite version of that. People on the right do the exact same thing, where they think if you just keep calling them illegals, all of a sudden it's going to magically solve whatever problem you think it's going to solve. Like Donald Trump used to do this during COVID, where he was like, Wuhan flu. And he just kept saying Wuhan flu over and over and over again, as though like when he says Wuhan flu, all of a sudden COVID is just like stopping dead in its tracks. It's not going to fucking spread anymore. Thank God they called it the Kung flu or the Wuhan flu or the China virus. All of a sudden, everything is good now. It's not. Just fucking focus on solving these goddamn issues for once. I speak to nice cope. I also spent years cleaning up hazardous waste for a living and worked my way up to 6 figures. I love my life. I'm not trying to do another culture without assimilating. Brother, you can't even type. You can't even spell assimilation. You understand that? Like, you have one language and you have no command over it. They got 2, sometimes 3. Okay. And in any case, I wasn't even talking about how much money you make right now. Who gives a fuck? You can make all the money on the planet and still be a fucking dumb asshole, which seemingly you kind of are. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you worked your way up, cleaning up hazardous waste for a living, and now you got 6 figures and stuff. It's great. I don't care where anyone's from. If you come here to live off our welfare, that's not acceptable. It's not a race thing. Oh my Lord. Yes, undocumented migrants are both stealing the jobs and they're also stealing the welfare, which seemingly is bountiful. Okay. I know. I got it. You're totally correct. It's both of those things at the same time. They're both stealing the jobs and they're stealing the welfare. You got it. Except undocumented migrants can't even get welfare. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There is not a single piece of evidence that even remotely entertains this notion, this hysterical notion that undocumented migrants are actually stealing welfare. That's not a real thing. What you are talking about, I assume, is the Somali Americans, or American citizens for the record, that got caught doing a fucking welfare fraud scheme, okay? And if you think that is indicative of all migrants in the United States of America, you're out of your fucking mind. Anyway, I straight up think global warming is caused by the rise of these mouth breathers. I don't think so. Maybe. I like that theory. So, brother, you don't have to make arguments for these dipshits. Just leave them be. My friends, for years and years and years, I have encountered these kinds of idiotic arguments. And for years, I have addressed them every single time they've come up. And the reason why I do that is because it's not for that one person who will have his mind changed on the spot. The reason why I do that is for all the people that are in the margins who might actually have suspicions that this is the case, right? You never know who's actually tuning in at any given moment of the broadcast. And it is my job, I think, or it's my primary responsibility to educate people, to help them realize that they've been lied to, that they've been duped to unlock their consciousness, to open their minds. And I will continue doing that. Okay. What is this? DC? What? Discord? Why? What? What is happening? What is happening? What? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. what was I gonna do? Oh, there's the yearly dose of good news. We'll cover that, obviously. That's it. I've done my personal news. But yeah, Camp Kasky, thank you for the children of Hebron and Palestine for teaching me how to ball. This is the whitest thing ever. Yeah, playing football is the whitest thing ever. I mean, there's plenty of whites out there who do also love playing football. After Saudi Arabia bombed an Emirati weapon shipment to South Yemeni separatists, the Saudi-backed Yemeni government has canceled its defense agreement with the UAE, and its president is demanding its forces leave Yemen within 24 hours. And it seems like the UAE's forces have announced that they are leaving. They're leaving their ambition in Yemen, which is good. I don't know what they're cooking up. I don't know where this will go, but it kind of feels like it's going somewhere positive. You know, I don't trust the Saudis, but at least in this circumstance, it seems like they're moving in a good direction. So who knows? Oh, there's also something that's going on with the Chinese, with the youth in China. They are becoming increasingly more Maoist. I wonder if this video will actually cover that. I don't know if you guys know this, but like Mao's birthday, you know, I think it's what, the 26th, right? I forget. But on Mao's birthday, they were in Tiananmen Square. They were going crazy, saying that we got to reinstate Maoist thought. Yes, the Chinese youths are straight up going full blown, full tilt. We got to bring it back. We got to bring back Maoism. I mean, or I guess in China, this is a really unique thing. I've been watching this from afar for a while. This has been brewing up for a while. The youth in China, obviously, you know, hyping up Mao. Doors open. God damn it. All right. In China, you can always hype up Mao, right? It's almost like doors open, doors open. Okay. In China, you can talk positively about all of the formative leaders, right? Yeah, this is what we're talking about as well. But in China, you can talk positively about all the formative leaders of the Chinese state historically in the People's Republic of China, obviously, and for that reason, like they can go even overboard with how much they love Mao Zedong, and the Chinese government can actually like put some serious censors on it. Otherwise, they would look like they're anti-Mao. They can't do that. So it's one of those things where like a lot of these dudes are, a lot of the youth in China are going, no, like we want even more. We want even more. We must study Marxist-Leninism and Mao Zedong thought more deeply to maintain the correct path. Comrades, a new struggle begins now. Comrades, cast away illusions and prepare our struggle. Prepare for struggle. Comrades, carry on the revolution and never surrender. Can't that be considered their brand of conservatism? No, I don't think it's a brand of conservatism at all. But it's a really interesting thing. I watched recently the one-time video about the Red Guard and the Cultural Revolution. It was both scary, fascinating, and inspiring. Shall we watch about it on your stream someday? I have watched it before. I think I have a more critical. I mean, I guess One Dime is even more critical than I am, but you know, there was a lot of issues with the Cultural Revolution and specifically the Red Guard. It got like if you think this chat is fucking annoying at times about being woke, think about that, but militant. Okay, think about when woke goes wrong. Okay, when woke goes wrong and gets out of hand. Like, I'm not a reactionary by any means, but that was absolutely a somewhat decentralized, dare I say, almost anarchist style hyper woke movement that definitely got way fucking out of hand, and it almost turned Marxist Leninist or Maoist thought into this like dogmatic approach. I think in a weird and unique way, this thing that others might even consider mass hysteria. I think most people consider mass hysteria. might have had positive repercussions down the line, but at the time it was fucking insane. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those situations where it's virtually, I'm a Dengus reactionary. Come on. I have a very Chinese approach. Okay, don't make me say the same the bun analogy over and over again. Okay, without Mao there is no Deng. Okay, without Deng there's no Xi. Can't just you can't just sit down and eat the fifth bun and assume, oh, after the first bun, the second bun, the third bun, and the fourth bun, it is the fifth bun that made me no longer hungry. I should have just skipped to the fifth bun, and it would have satiated my appetite. It doesn't work that way. Okay, different times required different leadership, and different leadership, made the right moves. There was also some wrong moves as well. But yeah, basically, the Cultural Revolution was definitely not the best time. Very scary time in general. And I would say that this right here is not going to harken back to like the Red Guard or anything like that, I don't think. But I wonder what the reason is. Maybe the youth unemployment and the lack of opportunity, because the youth unemployment is pretty high in China as well. Maybe that's the reason why they're also frustrated, right? Oh, you're too much against woke while doing it, Paul, but for young white men, it's the only thing I hate the most with you. I don't. I do far more identity politics for non-white people. I think you are insane for saying that. That is insane. That is an insane assessment. Anyway. Oh, God, I fucking hate this shit so much. They saw your clip doing Trump glazing Mao impression. Anyway, I do wonder why. I do wonder where this comes from. Like, this attitude comes from. I suspect it might have a little bit to do with like the youth unemployment potentially. I don't know.
It is happening again on Chinese social media that I thought this group had faded out and they were quiet for a week, maybe two. And then suddenly they are back, louder than before. And the people pushing what's called the 1644 historic narrative are trending again. In simple terms, they argue that everything went wrong the moment the Qing dynasty took power, and that modern China is still suffering from that original wound. So the more I watch them, the more they remind me of something familiar to Americans. They are basically China's version of mega. Yes, I talked about that before, right? And not in policy sense.
What's your genuine take on Deng? Just curious. I like Deng. I have no issues with Deng. Why would I have any issues with Deng? I like modern China, and without some of the tests that took place in terms of like special economic zones and like opening up to foreign capital, modern China would not be where it's at currently. China was able to make itself an irreplaceable force, but also past Deng, if it wasn't for Xi's reforms in terms of identifying corruption and eradicating the power that was brewing within the party system with some of the elites, okay? Without that, and if it was just like pure reform and pure liberalization, I think that the power of capital would have inevitably overtaken the power of the party. The power of the party is obviously only as powerful as the people and abiding by the wishes of the people. So I think, I'm a revisionist myself. So of course I'm not going to see, here we go. Social imperialist China. I love revisionism. Brother, have you built communism anywhere? No, shut the fuck up. Okay? I hate this narrative, dude. We're American. The fuck are you talking about? We are literally living in the fucking heart of the imperial core. We're all a bunch of little treatlerites. And you're over here talking about like a 1.4 billion country that is doing whatever version of building communism that they're doing. And you're like, nah, dude, it's not fucking good enough for me. Okay, you build it then. Have you built communism? Stop fucking LARPing. Shut the fuck up. I'm not saying that they're socialist Or I'm not saying that they're communist or anything like that. They're not. They're objectively not communist, okay? It is a transitional socialist state. And it is their version of Marxist Leninist principles being applied with Chinese characteristics. Is socialism with Chinese characteristics. That's the way that they describe it. I have no reason to assume that there is some kind of like secret. There is some kind of like secret reason as to why they're holding on to this fucking thing when clearly is if their goal was to be seen as like a normal liberal country, they would have dropped the communism shit far longer than I mean a very long time ago. They would have just been like, we're not communist. The fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you think? You think people give a shit? You think the Chinese government doesn't understand that like if they were to drop the socialism shit that like they wouldn't be seen more favorably by the West? If their goal is to be a part of the global capital marketplace without making any sort of sincere transition towards a socialist form of governance or a communist government at the end of the day, then why the fuck are they still doing that? Why would they do that? Why couldn't they just turn around and be like, no, we're not communists anymore? Not that it really matters. I mean, look at Russia. They don't give a fuck. People still say Russia is communist for some reason. But then also people who are pro-Russia also say Russia is communist for some reason. I don't know.
but in psychological one. Their message is emotional and identity driven.
What are you on? The power of the capital already took over because
idea.
imperialism, mate.
Make the Han people great again. That sounds familiar, right? And what worries me is not whether their history is right or wrong.
There is 0% chance that the Chinese government, as it works, or historically, the Chinese Communist Party will allow any sort of fucking sentiment such as like Han supremacy to foment. I know this is the worst place to say it in the West. If I were to say that in the West, people will go, what the fuck are you talking about? They Hanify everything. No, they have had long-standing affirmative action provisions far before we ever even considered shit like that. I don't think that they would ever fucking allow that kind of cessationist activity to take root, because it would ultimately threaten the power of the party. Not because they're like fucking super woke or anything, even though their policies are fairly woke. Like they have a lot of affirmative action policies and shit. But ultimately, I don't think that they would let like any sort of Han supremacist attitude to be fomented. I mean, I don't even know if they like the whole "we really love Mao" movement that's going on amongst the youth. So who knows? I mean, but this is super deep dive shit. We're having a conversation that's like a million layers deep about the details of like Chinese domestic affairs. But it is pretty funny that I used to make I had a bit about Hao Peking, like my Hank Pecker character, but Chinese. And it seems there is a version of that. And I actually did encounter the version of that when I was literally in China, where we were around a bunch of I forget, it was a minority group, right? They were not Han, and basically what I was told is like, you can't do anything. Someone came up to me and basically said like, you can't do anything to the minority groups because the government will protect them no matter what. So even if they like start trouble and they're gangsters, these gangster youths, even if they start trouble, you can't actually say anything to them because the cops will always side with them over the Han people. So I did actually encounter that. I never really talked about it, but it was very funny, which is literally what hogs say in America. Isn't that fucking awesome? Anyway, some rich individuals in China are utilizing this for their own interests. Sound familiar? Yeah. Any kind of like ethnic supremacist values or any kind of cessationist theories or ideas will usually be stamped out pretty aggressively in China. Okay? It doesn't matter. Yeah, man, we're fucked. Look at what our Gen Z is doing at this very
assassinate
moment. Excuse me, our Gen Z is popping.
if he were Chad? Well, probably not, and here's why. Good-looking people experience something called the halo effect, so it's quite possible that if Charlie were to be better looking, someone wouldn't have hated him enough to assassinate him. What happened to him is quite terrible, and this might be an insensitive video to make, but I'm really trying to bring awareness to how brutal the black pill is. Looks really are going to determine the quality of your life to a high degree, so if you're not doing everything you can to maximize them, you're missing out.
The Chinese government does extensive propaganda every year on racial harmony within China. We've had all 56 ethnic groups or one family message drilled in our heads since birth. Yeah. But this is something that you will never be able to explain to Americans because they think like the Chinese government, they know that as like the Chinese government is always destroying everybody else and they're hanifying everything. They're hanifying everyone. They're hanifying everyone. Meanwhile, there is an element of like cessationist movements that have historically taken root within, you know, the long history of China when it was a fucking, you know, dynastic empire all the way to the People's Republic of China. And whenever that kind of stuff happens, they do take a very heavy hand. But also on top of that, they are very aggressive. They are very aggressive about making sure that everybody understands that we are all one family. We're all one family, regardless of the ethnic background of another individual. And yeah, that's just I just don't think that they will move in that direction where they allow any sort of like supremacist attitudes to take root, because I think that it threatens the power that the government has in general. They are on like in some ways, you know how the conservatives think the American government is, like the Democrats are. Conservatives like claim the Democrats are like incredibly militant about being woke. Both with the Cultural Revolution and also with long-standing policies around affirmative action for ethnic minorities, China is unironically like the way that the China is in many ways kind of the meme that the Democratic Party has been made out to be in the United States of America. Like they do actually do DEI at gunpoint, if you will. Anyway, it's also part of the reason why they like stamp out. They stamp out any sort of like cults as well. They're pretty aggressive with that. They're pretty aggressive with like Christianity as well. They're, I would say, more aggressive with Christianity. Like people will say Uyghur Muslims. What about the Uyghur Muslims? But like in terms of Muslims, there are a fuck ton of Muslims in China, both in Xinjiang, but also all around China, right? But with Christianity, they're even more careful about Christianity. They are even more hands-on with Christianity than they are with Muslims. Like there are mosques everywhere in China. There are Muslims everywhere. It's not just the Uyghurs that are Muslim in China. There's different peoples in China that are also Muslim, right? But with the church, they are actually
Hui Chinese written in the
yeah, they're actually much more aggressive. Yeah, the Hui Chinese.
Arabic script is actually so trippy. Throughout Chinese history, there's been two major Muslim ethnic groups. First, there's the Turkic-speaking groups historically called Shanhui. And so like an example of them today would be the Uyghur people in Xinjiang. But then there's a separate group historically called Hanhui who we're going to focus on today. Han means Chinese, so these are ethnically Chinese Muslims who speak Chinese languages. Nowadays, they're often just called Hui people. Anyway, for hundreds of years, they wrote their variety of Chinese with the Arabic script, specifically a form based off of written Persian. And this is kind of crazy because the
why are they... Wait, someone asked me like, why are they hyper focused on the Christians? I mean, think about why. Because while in the Western world, a lot of people say, oh, the Muslims are very well organized and they're actually infiltrating to destroy our civilization. Unironically, Christianity has been infinitely more organized throughout most of its history. Like Islam was very organized initially, right? And there was obviously colonial conquest that took place, but that was a very long time ago, okay? And organized Islam or political Islam nowadays is more often than not organized at the behest of the American State Department or Western intervention, okay? Whereas organized Christianity is infinitely more organized right? Organized Islam or political Islam, like weaponized versions of Islam, is usually what you know as like jihadists, ISIS, Daesh, the Wahhabist sects that were promoted, and the Wahhabist sects that were given, a lot of organizational support by the Western world, by Western intelligence, okay, backed up, propped up by the CIA, propped up by the British first, right? But outside of that, people are just, they're just Muslim. There is no like, there is not really a lot of proselytizing in the same way or in the same degree as it works in Christianity. And it's not like the CIA is shy about utilizing Christianity or Christian cults that they've developed in places like Korea and places like Japan, as a matter of fact, in an effort to infiltrate society, in an effort to make sure that they still have some level of control. In China, Christianity has also led to a lot of incredible super violence. Yes, look up the Taipei Rebellion and you will see why they side-eye Christians. That's another reason as to why. So they are way more aggressive in cracking down on Christianity than they are with Islam. Uyghurs in Xinjiang are a totally separate story, of course. That's not persecution because they're Muslim. That's persecution because there are Turkic peoples in Xinjiang that had a cessationist movement, a separatist movement that wanted to separate Xinjiang, which they call East Turkestan, right? Not Taipei Rebellion, Taiping Rebellion, sorry. And that was the reason why they had an incredibly heavy-handed approach in doing like the dragnets, the fucking what the Chinese government calls vocational training, which wasn't vocational training. Let's be fucking real. It was re-education camps. All this stuff, mass surveillance, and that in and of itself was something that I have heavily criticized as well. Of course, I think it's fucking ridiculous. It's gone for the time being. It's done now, but ultimately at the time when it was happening, there was a lot of people that were greatly exaggerating what was going on, but it was already a fucking completely unacceptable crackdown to begin with. And there are some people who are massive China dick riders who will actually yell at me and say I'm doing the bidding of the CIA and doing CIA propaganda whenever I actually criticize the Chinese government on this. But that was a completely unacceptable and very inhumane approach to what they considered a separatist movement that was very dangerous. They'll say, oh, there was a lot of widespread terror taking place in China in the hands of these separatist Uyghur Muslims. And they would go around and engage in like mass stabbing incidents, things of that nature. And obviously that's a very Ameribrained approach, in my opinion. Having said that, of course, that criticism, and part of that is because the Uyghur Muslims were also being trained. They're still in Syria, for example. They have had their own version of like Salafist Uyghur Muslims trained by the Turkish military and deployed in Syria. Some of them go back to China. Some of them still try to reinstate a separatist movement. And ultimately they had incredibly unacceptable crackdowns on all of that shit. And there was an environment of mass surveillance and an environment of fear, and also a shit ton of violence that took place. But it was not done on the boundaries of Islam in the way that a lot of people claim. It was done it was done specifically against Uyghurs that all Uyghurs basically in practice, but the claim was it was just against the separatist Uyghurs. Okay, China doesn't have morals like it's any other imperialist country. No, that's not the same. I would say China doesn't have morals just like any other nation state in general. Okay, that's it. Nation states do not operate on morality. Okay, they operate on self-preservation, and will oftentimes take a heavy-handed approach that is utterly unacceptable. So you can say it's unacceptable. What's the alternative to stopping those terrorist attacks? Because China's method worked. The West counterterrorism methods are exponentially more destructive and murderous, and they don't work. So what would you do to deal with it? Actually, it's a great question. I have brought this up before. As a matter of fact, I've talked about this quite extensively. In comparison to obviously the Western approach, which is fomenting terrorism, they're not actually trying to eradicate terrorism. Let's be fucking real. There is no such thing as like Western counterterrorism. Okay, this is a lie. When the West says they're countering terrorism, what they actually mean is they're creating terrorism in an effort to later down the line engage in counterterrorism operations to destroy terrorism, which justifies their military intervention for imperialist conquest. Okay? Totally separate. Totally separate things. In any case, doing dragnets, especially in an environment where there's already mass surveillance, is utterly unacceptable. Okay? That's it. Having said that, as far as the greatest solution to any kind of separatist movement, the great vanilla ended you. Oh no, Vanilla Mace ended me. The greatest approach to working on any kind of separatist movement is to make the deal so sweet that there is no reason to do any sort of separatism whatsoever. In any case, where was I? What was I talking about? I went through so many different things here. Oh, let's get back to the Somalis, Somaliopolis, and we'll talk about Camp Kasky in the West Bank as well, because a lot of people are fucking losing their minds over it and getting mad about it too. Xinjiang is one of the fastest growing regions in China. I'd rather have that for them than a Salafist state built out of Turkey's Turanist wet dream, lol. Do you dislike Vanilla now that her and Cutie are on the outs? I am completely unfamiliar with what's going on here, and this sounds like the most parasocial shit anyone has ever fucking said. I have no issues with either of these people, and I think you need to literally take a deep breath and dial it back a million. What the fuck kind of parasocial nonsense is this, brother? What are you talking about? I love Vanilla Mace. I love Cutie. Y'all are being fucking crazy. One of the things I always bring up when talking about Xinjiang is if Israel's method, if Israel did what the Chinese state did to what they declared was like separatist Uyghur Muslims, if Israel did that to the Palestinians, the entire Western world would be talking about how fucking amazing the Israeli government is. They'd be like, this is the greatest, most peaceful, most tolerant government of all time. Okay? This is something that I bring up all the time. There is no response to this because it's completely true. Okay? You need to understand. It is fucking insane. Hassan, this is your worst take? OMG? It's not. It's not. The Western approach to what they consider counterterrorism is to foment terrorism and then do boots on the ground military invasions in an effort to enslave an entire local population after killing most of them. This still doesn't make the Chinese government's approach to Xinjiang appropriate. And, two things can be bad at the same time. In any case, it has always been funny, though, to me, because, like, the West, I know how the West sees Muslims. I know how the West treats Muslims. I am Muslim, and I'm living in the West. I know how the West sees the Chinese government. I know how the West sees the Chinese people. And yet, for some reason, they love talking about Chinese Muslims as though they give a fuck about the Chinese population or the Muslim population. Interesting. I feel like if a lot of the ANCAP right-wing bros actually understood the Chinese state atheism, they wouldn't be mad at it. It is oppressive and bad, though. No, I think a lot of the abundists, if a lot of the abundists understood what the Chinese government is doing, they would be fucking massive. They would be massive dick riders. Okay. Steroided up Albanian says Muslim who drinks, eats pork, gets tattoos and other sins. You're Albanian. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do. Okay. Albania mentioned. Okay. Where was I? I don't have any tattoos if you were talking about me. This is a common thread, though. My MAGA mom says that Mamdani's going to kill my LGBT friends. Yeah, it's very funny. Especially because MAGA wants to unironically do that, but they want to do it Christian style, I guess. Okay. Speaking of Mamdani, Holy Toledo, let's take a look at Mamdani entering the office. Quite the popular dude. Let's take a look at Mamdani's approval.
Look at how New York City folks are feeling about Zohran Mamdani. Look at this. Up like a rocket, higher and higher, as Jackie Wilson, a great singer, used to say, right? Mamdani's net favorable rating in New York City in September, it was plus 14 points. Look at where we are now, plus 38 points. That's a climb. If you do the math quickly, right with me right here, Sarah Steiner, 38 minus 14, wow. That's a rise of 24 points in the positive direction. As I said, up like a rocket. New York City voters have never felt better about the man that they elected to lead this city come 2026. He is quite the popular dude right now.
Before governance, that is often a thing,
yes.
Right? It's much harder once you get in there. Looking into 2026, Republicans were hoping that Mamdani would hurt Democrats statewide. What are you seeing when it comes to that?
Yeah, okay. So right now, we're talking about the honeymoon period, right, for Zohran Mamdani. Very much in the Jackie Gleason state of mind. And another show that was based in New York City. Net favorable rating, let's look at New York State, right? You have New York City, and then you wind it out to New York State, right? A lot of Republicans statewide were hoping to run against Zohran Mamdani. But look at this. Zohran Mamdani, plus 15 points on the net favorable rating statewide. That's, I believe, the highest it's ever been. The much bigger drag is Donald Trump heading into 2026 statewide. We're talking about, look at that, 30 points underwater. If Zohran Mamdani were something, he'd be the Empire State Building, way up there in the clouds in terms of popularity compared to other politicians in the state of New York. And Donald Trump, well, he would be like a garbage dump out on Staten Island.
Wow, that's pretty strong words there.
That's a 45-point difference. It's strong words, but you know what? They're true words.
Waiting for the Truth Social on that one. All right, one of the most controversial policies was Mamdani saying, I'm going to make New York buses faster.
Dude, think about how bad American politics is, that CNN, which is supposed to be the communist news network, is literally turning around and saying one of his most controversial policies is fast and free buses. How can you read that as anything but antagonistic to the working class, dude? I think it's pure cope to be like, well, it is controversial. It's controversial because it's hard to push, and maybe that's why they're talking about it. It's like, it's controversial to who? Ask every working class person. Okay, let's say we have unlimited funds. Do you want fast and free public transit? They're going to say yes. Controversial to who? Controversial to Ford? Okay. This is what I mean. It's like controversial to the rich, I guess. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. This is something that people need to pay attention to. When I say there is this uniparty consensus when it comes to certain things, issues that pertain to the working poor and their best interests, there is a uniparty consensus on constantly telling you that this stuff is unachievable, constantly telling you that this stuff is actually bad for you. Things that are actually good for you, no, they're not good. They're bad for you. Remember that, okay?
But the key word here, free. How do New Yorkers feel about that prospect?
This was a very controversial thing, right, Sarah Steiner? Very controversial thing. But look at this. New York City voters on free buses by taxing millionaires and billionaires more. Look at this. 50% supported in New York City compared to 41% who oppose it. Now, here's the key thing, right? We're talking about millionaires, billionaires, the whole idea. Will there be this rush of billionaires to leave New York? Will there be this rush? Well, take a look at the prediction market. The chance of 8 or more billionaires leaving New York City by the middle of next year, look at that. It's just 21%.
Oh my God, prediction markets, suck my dick. God damn it, I hate this shit. Okay, I hate the prediction market nonsense, but the reality of the matter is, of course they're not going to leave. Why would they leave? New York is already more expensive even before this tax, okay? New York is significantly more expensive to live in than even before this fucking tax would be implemented, right? And they still choose to live in New York. Why? Because it's fucking New York City. This is what's so frustrating to me about all of these conversations about like, oh, well, the wealthy will leave if we tax them more. It's like, first of all, there are mechanisms around that, okay? We can do an exit tax, for example. If you want to leave, you got to fucking dump boatloads of the labor and the value that you secured from this wonderful state before you leave, and we'll fucking slap your ass on the way out. Bye-bye, okay? That will force people to sit the fuck down and really reconsider whether they want to leave or not. But it won't even get to that point. And the reason why it won't get to that point is because, of course, they're not going to leave. They want to be in New York. They want to be in Los Angeles. All right? It's just not happening. The real problem is the working class leaves New York. The working class leaves Los Angeles. And we have to work on making sure that they don't have to leave. And the reason why they leave New York and Los Angeles is because it's unaffordable. Okay? That's the problem. It's unaffordable. I also personally despise this narrative that the wealthy hold our economy hostage at gunpoint. Okay? I despise that shit. Have you ever heard of Austin, bro? Yeah, guess what? I have. They're going to move to Austin, bro. Wake up. I have. They all hate it. The only person that still loves Austin is Joe Rogan. Every single person that left to go to Austin actually made it worse than what it was. Austin was one of the wokest parts of Texas, okay? It had its own little like woke bubble. They came in, all the hogs came in from out of state and ruined it, okay? They unironically came in and they wanted to bring some of the, some of the elements of being in a liberal city, but they actually were also incredibly reactionary and they ruined Austin. They made Austin worse. And now they're all leaving Austin. They fucked it up and now they're leaving. That's one of the funniest aspects of this because they still want to live in Los Angeles. They still want to live in New York. Ironically enough, if they had not moved to Austin and Austin just kind of developed on its own, it probably would have turned into another New York or maybe another Los Angeles. But they came in and they fucked it up and they ruined Austin's chances of developing into its own little thing. These guys claim they hate woke, but they love moving to woke areas. I wonder why. As someone who's lived in ATX for 14 years, yeah, they made it worse, but I wouldn't say they ruined it. Austin is still one of the best cities in the country to live in. I mean, I personally don't like it, but then again, I am a little bit of an elitist. I don't even think Los Angeles is a real city, and I grew up in cities my whole life. But yeah, these guys love going to other woke areas in red states and then fucking it up because they want to take the worst elements of conservatism and slam it into an area that is developing on its own. Would you ever move to Austin? No. Yeah, the billionaires are openly discussing primarying Ro Khanna, not realizing that this actually is an incredible campaign for Ro Khanna, for the record. I left California 5 years ago. I'm certainly not a billionaire, but the ballot proposition that Ro Khanna is pushing to levy a 5% wealth tax that is spending California resources more efficiently is so offensive to the principles of innovation that he should be primaried. Yeah, Peter Thiel is leaving California if we pass a 1% tax on billionaires for 5 years to pay for healthcare for the working class facing steep Medicaid cuts. I echo what FDR said with sarcasm of economic royalists when they threatened to leave. I will miss them very much. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. People love eating off the previous implementation of social democracy in this fucking country. Okay? If you have any infrastructure whatsoever in your town, thank the New Deal. Okay? It is because America at a certain point had so much pressure from socialist, trade unionists, communists alike, that they had to respond to that pressure and the economic explosion that took place in the Great Depression. And they had to do serious, centrally planned implementation of social democracy. Okay? And we're still eating off of the royalties of that implementation. And it blows my fucking mind that we don't even recognize it. The other movement was obviously the fully centrally planned war economy that we had to implement during World War II. Okay? Post World War II, we ate good off of that as well. And yet, for some reason, people love the benefits and the bounties of socialization but they think they hate socialism. And you hear it. Red Scare propaganda is so effective, has been so effective in undermining any kind of socialism in this country that you can have a straight up conversation. You can have a long, extended conversation with a coworker of yours talking about, oh, we got to get health care, man. Wouldn't it be nice if we just like actually funded our schools instead of like, funding bombs overseas? And they'll go, yeah, I agree. That's actually a great idea. I agree. This is such a fantastic idea, right? But the moment that you say, oh yeah, we should have socialized medicine, they go, whoa, 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 I don't want that. The fuck do you mean socialized? I hate that, actually. It's the Obamacare ACA principle. You slap Obama onto it, they hate it. You talk about, do you like that healthcare providers can't deny you coverage because of pre-existing conditions? They go, I love that. Do you like that? You can stay under your parents' insurance until the age of 26? They go, I love that. Slap the name Obama on it. They go, whoa, I fucking hate that. I hate it. You can convince the average American, no matter how right-wing they are, no matter where they live, about how wonderful socialism would be as long as you never say social, as long as you don't slap social anywhere, as long as you don't say socialism anywhere in that conversation. It's crazy. And that is because people are insanely propagandized. They don't realize it. They're just kind of dumb. Okay? I'm sorry. It's just the truth. It's just the fucking truth. We are the most propagandized people on the planet, and we think we're so fucking smart. We think we're all free thinkers, okay? The most propagandized amongst us unironically assume that they are the most woke and the most tapped in and the most aware of the propaganda when they're actually the least aware of the propaganda. We're a nation of easily tricked adults. Anyway, they hate socialism because they think they know what socialism is, because they've been told socialism is wrong, immoral, terrifying, and that there is no other alternative economic organization of society that would work. And that propaganda still continues. Do you find yourself falling for propaganda and snapping out of it? I am the propaganda. I mean, I'm sure there are, yeah, of course. No one is over it. Like, I am still very much susceptible to it as well. There are biases that I have to sometimes go back and think about and think thoroughly on. Okay? So yeah, of course. I would say that for most of my life, and maybe this is because of my Turkish background, I too, although I was, pro-Palestine, I also certainly engaged in the, Hamas or Islamist type narratives, okay? Obviously, I didn't lean too much into it. That didn't change my attitude on whether or not it was understandable that people would fucking fight back against Israeli expansionist principles and the exterminationist ideology of Zionism. Having said that, however, there was still an element of restraint in my mind as well, where I was like, I don't know about this. There are still plenty of people who engage in this, especially in the West. You can have like socialist people. You can have socialist people who will be like, I like the Palestinian resistance because of the PFLP or the DFLP. It's like, okay, who is the one that's, who is leading the resistance? It's still Hamas, okay? Who brought the PFLP and DFLP into play? It was Hamas. So, bro, I was reading a textbook from a few years ago, and it defined bigotry as someone having a strong belief and said that Stalin killed millions of people. Yeah, of course. So, there is definitely an element of dehumanization that I had to work through myself personally. Okay, so that's real.
Strong words, but you know what? They're true words.
Waiting for the Truth Social on that one. All right. One of the most controversial policies was Mamdani saying, I'm going to...
Hold on. We watched all this
campaign
already.
man.
Austin, and I'll be in. I'm not going to come back next week. I'm going to see you on the air tomorrow night.
Oh,
I'm going
that's
to see
right.
you on the air tomorrow night. You'll be in Austin, and I'll be in Prescott, Arizona.
Good times. Nice and warm. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Mayor Mamdani.
What's your answer to Stalin killed so many people, millions of people? Yeah, he also happened to kill a bunch of Nazis, you know. It's not all bad. There is definitely bad in there. There's mismanagement. There is a lot of the growing pains of rapid industrialization, going from an agrarian country. There is a fuck ton. But most people, I think, in spite of Stalin's deep paranoia, especially post-World War II, would still, like most honest assessors of Stalin's impact on history, would have to recognize that in spite of the overt failures of governance and the pain and deaths and mistakes, that Stalin was a incredibly important global leader. And without, once again, Stalin or Mao or any number of these different people that people point to go like, these guys are just as bad as Hitler, if not worse, like it's fucking bullshit. Without them, you would not have seen the development that played in the USSR. So there's good and then there's bad, okay? It's always how it is. And before people say, you're not consistent on this principle, I say the same shit about the fucking founding fathers too, and they were slavers. Okay? They were fucking slavers. And guess what? Even slavers can have the right mindset doing a bourgeois revolution against the colonial superpower. You know? You see the good and you see the bad and you assess it. All right? That's how it works. It's true. There is nuance to this. And I apply that same exact nuance all the time.
Scheduled to become, or to be sworn in, I should say, Mayor-elect Mamdani. And, you know, his campaign has come with a lot of big promises for New Yorkers, a lot of attention on the Democratic side, too, to see.
Can you give a fall of communism in Russia? Give a summary of that? I mean, I don't know. Look at what's going on in the Trump world in the United States of America right now. It's pretty close to a 101 without any external factors that are really fucking trying to destroy the United States of America. Like, we're doing it to ourselves. It's very similar, I would say. There are a lot of similarities to the fucking fall of the USSR, like the internal issues. And we're basically doing it to ourselves right now in the United States of America without any of the fucking external factors that are trying to destroy the United States of America. Even though we always claim that there are people out there that are out to get us, trying to destroy us all the time. They just happen to be, in countries that we would like to bomb into oblivion. There's wiggle room between Stalin and Mao were good or bad people. They're historical people who are oftentimes main villains in American education, but they're not the heroes that progressives hoist them up to be. I would say that defeating the Nazis is pretty solid. I mean, if I give credit to fucking Churchill for that, I'm gonna give credit to Stalin for that. You know, that's a pretty fucking solid thing. Western progressives don't take into consideration the views of the global South. I mean, it's true. Yes, Western chauvinism is a big part of the, it's a big part of the equation here. Anyway,
you know, is this the national or future leader of sort of the Democratic Party direction? But I can imagine a lot of Republicans are also looking at this too to see where the holes are. I wonder how you're evaluating what might come next for soon-to-be Mayor Mamdani.
He's proved to be a great foil for Republicans so far, but what is to be seen is if he truly is a socialist, if he's more pragmatic in his policies and governance, or if he's just simply naive. He certainly tapped in.
There is no, workers' party in this country. There is no objective, open, communist major party in this country. We don't have a parliamentary system to begin with. You are never going to have a real socialist, okay? It's just that's not how this works, okay? If you win power in this country, you are not going to be winning power, at least in this stage, through real earnest socialism. At best, you are going to be pragmatic and probably try to move the needle in the direction of social democracy. That's just the truth. And I try to explain this to people all the fucking time, and people still yell at me and they think like, they say I am a shepherd for the Democratic Party. And here they are once again, not building communism. So I don't know what the fuck they want from me. Okay. We have very different methods on this. Yeah. CNN has a former Bush guy on to analyze Zoran. Oh, I'm so shocked that the former White House spokesman for President George W. Bush, Pete Seat, has this to say about Zoran Mamdani.
To the anxiety of voters by making a lot of promises that he may not be able to keep. There could be institutional resistance. There could be bureaucratic pushback. We don't know. His policies could be a complete, total, utter failure. I think that's the most likely scenario to unfold here in the next couple of years. That's all to be seen. But I think a lot of Republicans across the country, where I live in Indiana, people are watching Zoran Mamdani to see what he does and if it's as bad as we predict it will be.
And a lot of New Yorkers here hoping that he lives up to some of his promises. Karen, I want to bring you in and widen the scope here, because 2026 is obviously a midterm year, and Democrats had big wins in this year's elections, Mamdani one of them. I wonder how you see the stakes, not just of the beginning to Mamdani's mayorship, but also around.
I think they're a little worried about the possible success that Mamdani might achieve, albeit marginal. Because, like, remember, his endpoint, what he ran on, if developed, is very modest expansions of pre-existing welfare structures, modest expansion of the pre-existing public transit system. Like, he's not rewriting anything, right? He's not changing the game at all. But even that modest direction towards social democracy is fucking terrifying for people in power. Why is it terrifying for people in power? Because it is moving in the direction of anti-capitalism. The moment that you actually go after private enterprise and their profits in any capacity, no matter how tiny it is, this means you are losing control. This means that capital is losing control. And that's fucking terrifying for capital. Okay? Just as the bosses at your mega corporation they work at will spend a fuck ton more money on labor lawyers to come in and destroy any sort of initiative towards unionization, okay, and spend far more money in the short term than they would lose if the union was to be developed and could demand more benefits, for example, a bigger percentage of the profits that they are generating off of their surplus labor value. Okay, it's the principle, it's the fear of losing control. Because let's say Zoran Mamdani actually achieves these modest, marginal, incremental changes that he wants to implement. All of a sudden, people are going to wake up. They're going to recognize, oh shit, we can actually vote for a positive figure. We can actually vote for an affirmative agenda. We can actually demand more from our politicians, and they will listen to our demands. And that is unacceptable. They will first always work to kill your hope. They will always, first and foremost, work to kill your dreams, to kill your confidence in this government. And liberals play a massive role in this, okay? Obama played a massive role in this, as a matter of fact. You can't have that. No matter how tiny, no matter how incremental the gains could be for the working class, the capital owners do not want that. And that's precisely the reason why you will see more and more, in my opinion, unless Zoran becomes a total fucking sellout, phony, a total slave to the capital owners, okay? And we shall see, we shall see if that's the direction that he goes in, right? Unless he does that, most of the servants of capital in the media will aggressively attack him. He will sell out like you. No, don't ban that person. Please, that kind of stuff is not, that's not a bannable offense, I think. You maybe time him out a little bit, but probably even then, I wouldn't even time that person out. I know you don't want derailers, but let's not do that. Is Asman Chatter rating boss? No, even then, it's fine. It's fine.
On the party unifying either in states like Massachusetts, Michigan, Maine, California, or whether they actually need to get some of the wins that I know Democrats hope come?
Well, a couple of things. Having worked in New York City government, I can tell you that it's going to be a challenge for Mamdani, no question. And he's going to have to work with the governor and with the city council. I hope he succeeds. New Mexico was able to pass universal child care. There's one report that says if he's successful, it will mean 14,000 women will be able to return to the workforce and add some $600 million.
Bro, I got timed out for 30 minutes for calling the face content the garbage it was. What the fuck? They were right to time you out. And you will get another 30 minutes now.
To the city's revenues. So let's hope he's successful. We should want him to succeed in those endeavors. I think what you're going to see from Democrats across the country is, again, we've got Zohran Mamdani, we've got Abigail Spanberger, we've got all kinds of Democrats running across this country. I think the message will be obviously focusing on affordability and focusing on, frankly, speaking to the growing dissatisfaction that voters have with the job that President Trump and Republicans in Congress who have failed to hold him accountable, who have failed to do their jobs. Why are we spending so much time on regime change in Venezuela when we still haven't gotten inflation under control? When people just went through Christmas and ran up their credit cards, and those bills will come due next year. And healthcare costs are about to go up. So I think you're going to see Democrats focusing on how do we earn voters' trust to solve these problems.
Economy and healthcare will be tops of minds for voters. Feels like deja vu, but those issues always top of mind whenever we have major elections. Karen Finney, Pete Seat, appreciate you both being here.
I do want to move on to New York, where Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani will be sworn in an abandoned subway station beneath City Hall on New Year's Eve. And then the hardest work will begin, which is governing. He has three main things he ran on: universal childcare, rent freezes, and making buses free and faster. His whole campaign was about affordability, and other Democrats certainly jumped quickly to do the same and won seats in special elections. First to you, Margaret. I mean, how will the party, the Democratic Party, be watching what happens in New York as they gauge for how they should proceed?
It's such a fascinating story to watch. And I think the answer is kind of at arm's length, like kind of like looking, but then looking away. You've got Democrats nationally saying New York City is not the same as swing districts across the United States or statewide offices in many states.
Yeah, true. When you ask people in West Virginia if they also want immediate improvements into their living conditions and like a more affordable existence, they go, of course not. That's my least favorite thing of all time. Famously, it's a losing equation everywhere else. And before people say, hey, obviously look at like a place like Tennessee and whatnot, this is a failure. You have to remember, okay, this shit takes time. It requires a shit ton of money to go against the unlimited propaganda from the right, okay? It's not going to happen overnight. Kaya needs to know what you got in that box. The box is for you guys, but this is a venison shank bone, and it is something that she is lasered in on. This is Kaya's chew toy, but I'm not going to give this to her yet. She's been fucking this thing up. But what I will give Kaya is the venison shank bone. Kaya, come here. Oh, what's this? Okay. Good girl. Good girly. Republicans since 2004, that change won't work, so we won't vote for it. Let's change it our way to make it worse. See, the Dems broke it. Yeah. I asked my mom when she got on the Rush Limbaugh. She literally told me that she worked somewhere where they played him all day. She started out hating him, but then he grew on her, shaking my head. Like, how is she not aware that she got brain poisoned? Brother, that's the reason why all this like fuck Hassan initiatives are unfortunately successful, because it stops people from actually coming here and watching. Because most people would rather make up their minds. Most people would rather make up their minds from afar. But if I was like, the solution to all the fuck Hassan content is just to come here and watch and make up your own mind, even for a little bit. Okay. That's why I always tell you, show your friends, show your family. Clips are not going to, clips are no way to actually make up your mind about a person, especially a political commentary person, A political commentator, ain't no fucking way you're going to understand what their actual points of view are. Politics is a very polarizing game and there are going to be a lot of bad faith actors that are working overtime, oftentimes for free, to make sure that make sure that your friends don't tune in at all. Make sure your friends actually develop deep-seated hatred and resentment for no fucking reason until they come in. Until they come in and they see for themselves. But even then, there will always be, people that don't like my vibes, my style. A lot of people say I'm too bro-y for them. You know what I mean? Groypers were really mad that you said Fuentes is gay. Okay. What else is new? Groypers are mad at the truth. Anyway, let's continue.
So reluctant to draw too many parallels, I think. And then on the other hand, this affordability message is so potent and visceral, whether you're in a red district or a blue district. It helped Donald Trump get elected in 2024. It is one of President Trump's biggest obstacles and one of his party's biggest obstacles now, a year later. And for Mamdani, these promises to impact affordability for working class New Yorkers, but also just messages saying sort of like, I hear you, I feel you, it's legitimate to feel like you can't afford anything. These are really powerful messages that helped him get elected. Totally. But the measure of his success now is going to be on whether he can deliver on some of these things inside the context of this massive city full of millionaires and billionaires and major businesses.
Look,
also.
all of my boogers in one Zintin.
All of the city while addressing this base that helped you get elected. And I think in these early days, we're going to see his decisions about who to appoint to crucial positions inside his government, how many people from the prior mayor's administration to keep over, who will he be able to bring on board to help execute some of these promises? Everyone, Democrats, Republicans, New Yorkers will be closely watching.
Yeah, for sure. And there was a lot of surprise on how he and President Trump got on when he visited the White House.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see where this goes as far as like the anti-Zoran stuff. But state commissioner responds to viral YouTube video about the Somali daycare fraud in Minneapolis. There are some inconsistencies for the record don't ban me this time. I do agree with you with a lot of things. Okay, great. There are a lot of inconsistencies even with like the way that the state is talking about it, I will admit. Okay. The Somaliapolis story continues. As you guys probably know by now, there is a Mormon YouTuber who used to be like a Mr. Beast style YouTuber that pivoted into right-wing content in the same way that like Tyler Hitler Vera did, to do like nuisance streaming, like nuisance YouTubing, but directionally for right-wing propaganda purposes. He went to Minneapolis, and there was already, for the past like couple of years, there's been an active investigation into welfare fraud and charity fraud that has taken place in Minneapolis. But he went to Minneapolis to go outside of random childcare facilities with the claim that there were no children there and there was like mass fraud taking place, right? And because there is already a pre-existing investigation, and because Donald Trump has been yelling about this for the past month or so, and because the people that they are yelling about happen to be, Black, Muslim, Somali Americans, at a time when obviously tensions are very high towards, non-white people of potential immigrant background, the video popped off, partially base boosted by Elon Musk, right? It got like 120 million views on Twitter, even though Twitter views are irrelevant. It got like 2 million views on YouTube. And every single person has been praising it as though it was peak journalism. I think it's very stupid. I I feel very discouraged that a lot of people looked at that and thought it was like peak journalism, because there was no journalism whatsoever, especially in an instance where like he could have done journalism, because there is validity to the skepticism as far as some of these childcare facilities. He could have just done literally just a bare minimum amount of research to go to the Department of Human Services website and like actually look at the litany of licensing violations that these places had actually incurred, and asked whether or not these places had actually had their licenses revoked. If not, why they hadn't gotten their licenses revoked. Like, that would have been a pretty solid piece of journalism that could have still been right-wing propaganda, right? But he didn't do any of that. He just went outside of childcare facilities and demanded to see the children, right? Demanded to see the kids. Show me your kids. Show me your kids. And he walked out at a time when there's also a lot of tension to begin with around, ICE raids and things of that nature. What sucks for me about the way that, what sucks for me in particular, as someone who tries to educate people on media literacy, tries to get people to do a little bit of critical thinking, was that there's not a lot of critical thinking out there. I think as long as something has an element of truth from pre-established legitimate resources, as long as it leans into existing fears, tribalistic fears that people have about, non-white people or whatever the fuck, Somali people, you don't really need to do any serious journalism whatsoever. You can just like do the dumbest thing possible and go outside of childcare facilities and demand to see the children, which is never going to happen, right? And unfortunately, that's just the media environment that we live in now. And people will immediately go, oh, you just want to defend the Somalis for doing fraud because, I don't know, for reasons, I guess, because you're woke and this is how wokes operate, right? It sucks. But unfortunately, even intelligent people, college-educated people, like all these people would, are still falling for this.
Where are the children? What? Is this a daycare or not?
This is my office where I make news videos.
Did you see the report from Nick Shirley about the Somali daycares in Minnesota?
Yes, he posted a 42-minute video, which I watched so that you don't have to.
He's the only person out here doing real journalism.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Yes, I saw that you posted that. Great work, sir. So, yes, since 2018, more than half of $18 billion in taxpayer funds spent on the 14 programs intended to help low-income, vulnerable people was most likely stolen.
And there it is.
But this has been under investigation for a long time. More than 92 people have been charged.
Well, how come we haven't seen it in the news?
Local and international outlets have been reporting on it for years. This is a Times article from 2022.
But Representative Omar did nothing about this.
That same year, she condemned the fraud that was happening. And in 2019, this article was written about the statewide audit of the fraud. Finally, here's a local article from 2018 that says that Minnesota has been aggressively investigating daycare fraud since 2014.
But what about how they're funneling all the money to terrorists?
Look, there is clearly fraud happening here, but that terrorist allegation was made by a police detective from Seattle who retired in 2015 and has never been to Minnesota.
Oh, well, what about the other daycares in the video? I didn't see any kids.
Some of those daycares could have been committing fraud, but would you let a complete stranger flanked by his security team and his camera crew into your daycare to see the children? And I don't know when he filmed this, but my daughter's daycare is closed for the last 2 weeks of December. I'm glad you care about kids, though.
Of course.
Have you seen the latest Epstein file dump from 3 days before Christmas?
No, I don't think so. It's not important.
In new documents, an unnamed victim alleges that both Trump and Epstein raped her, and that Trump traveled on Epstein's plane at least 8 times in the 90s. But last year, he said he was never on Epstein's plane.
You should go check for more daycare fraud. Okay.
Yeah, it's much more likely that the people that were doing this fraud were just not funding terrorism in Somalia, but instead funding their pockets. And there has been investigations in the past into whether or not any sort of like terror cells in Somalia have received any of the funding, and they've come up with no evidence to suggest that this allegation is even remotely true. There's a lot of misinformation flying around this story, but once again, I mean, that's a pretty basic summary of it. But this has at least caused some of the people in mainstream news to Remember that they do have a job, and they should probably address some of the misinformation. State commissioner responds to viral YouTuber video about Somali daycare fraud in Minneapolis.
Tonight, the state is responding to a viral video alleging more fraud in Minnesota, this time daycare fraud. Since it was posted last week, the video has racked up millions of views, even catching the attention of the FBI director. Lou Raguse has the latest on the response from the state.
So this is Quality Learning Center.
A misspelled sign and an apparent lack of anyone inside a licensed child care center in Minneapolis. Just one stop conservative YouTuber Nick Shirley made in a video viewed over 100 million times on X in an effort to expose fraud among Somali.
Yeah, it's like people are not even bringing up the fact that he also brought up the flag, the state flag of Minnesota, and the flag change, and how that was also changed to look more Somali, which is, again, like when you see something like that, you should immediately go, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, this person is maybe not all there. But unfortunately for a lot of people, because of the unchecked biases that people have, because of a lack of interest in critical thinking in general, they kind of see this, okay? They see this and they go, oh, this makes sense. He's doing good journalism. And they end up unironically believing all the other shit that this dumbass is saying too.
Run child care centers in Minnesota.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
Tiki Brown is the commissioner of the new Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families, which is responsible for paying federal child care assistance to daycares that file claims. She says inspectors went out today to double check that children, in fact, are present. The Federal Department of Homeland Security also was checking those businesses in Minneapolis today. State data Shirley used in his video show those daycares receive millions in taxpayer money.
The inconsistent part about this specific Minneapolis daycare, the Quality Learning Center, I will admit, is that the state claims that the daycare center is actually permanently closed. It's not. Or there were children at that center, and there have been children at that center, obviously, when it was still in operation. And we don't know if the daycare center is currently closed or not. The state says it is, but there were children there as of yesterday, from what I understand. And that part is actually odd. That is actually suspicious to me. Someone who actually cares about, the truth.
There have been ongoing investigations with several of those centers. None of those investigations uncovered findings of fraud.
Brown confirmed that the daycares in Shirley's video have active licenses with the state and continue.
The one with the sign on the door says permanently closed on Google Maps. This is why journalism is important, because it doesn't matter what it says on Google Maps, okay? It does not matter what Google Maps says. You have to actually go there, or at least call the facility, try to call the facility and talk to someone and confirm. Okay, Google Maps, unfortunately, is not a reliable source of information. What we know, however, is that the sign on the door said open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Nick was there at 1 p.m. So he wasn't even there while it was open. He was there while the place was closed. And before you say, what daycare is open from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., daycares and childcare facilities have different hours for parents that have different needs. Some parents are working until 10 p.m. Some parents need after school care. Okay? I know that it's like I know it's much more comforting to lean into a narrative built around suspicion, but it's usually good to try and figure out like what's actually going on.
Receiving payments. The exception, one that closed years ago, and the misspelled Quality Learning Center, which Brown says permanently closed last week. In a strange contradiction, however, our cameras this afternoon captured dozens of children being dropped off at that daycare, the manager telling us they are legitimate, they are open, and they never have been closed.
Now, I confirmed this afternoon that the State Department of Children, Youth, and Families
has a total of 55 open investigations related to the Child Care Assistance Program. And the department tells me that they hope to have more information for me tomorrow about their site visits today. One more thing to add, Carla. The commissioners.
Yeah, they went to all of the facilities now. They went to all the facilities to see if there are children there, and they are, unlike Nick Shirley, actual investigators, you know, licensed auditors. So, yeah, this was an interview with one of the guys who runs the daycare. But again, I saw this, but what's not consistent here is what this guy is saying. Like, I'm not trying to invite suspicion onto him, but if I place a higher order of responsibility or a higher order of veracity and truthfulness to claims being made by the state over claims being made by some random guy on TikTok who I'm not so certain is the manager or not, because I didn't fucking check. I don't know if this guy's the manager of this place. I don't know if he's some random guy standing outside. Like, you need to be a little bit more critical with the information that you're looking at, right? In a situation like this, it's not his word against the states. You have to take what the auditors are saying more seriously, and there is an inconsistency here. Okay, while the state's own license does say that this daycare is still in operation, this child care place is still in operation, the state has also, a different department within the state, including that person that we just watched, has said that it's not an operation. This is only going to invite more suspicion, okay? Minnesota Department of Children Commissioner Tiki Brown claims the Quality Learning Center closed down last week, which explains why there were no children when Nick Shirley visited. Today, however, the Quality Learning Center was packed with kids. The New York Post reports that children were trucked in, with one local saying it was the first time they had seen kids go into the building. They need to coordinate next time before they try to cover up a crime.
Wow.
Is there fraud going on here? No, it's a video. I just want to know. What's your response? Huh? Get the out of here. What's your response to the allegations? Is there fraud going on here? And is there children? That's all.
That's awesome. This is definitely a way to conduct an investigation. Thank you. I love that everyone is a fucking journalist now and think that they're a fucking journalist now. And how do they do journalism? Go outside of a place where you suspect a crime is taking place, crime involving children, mind you, and film the children and yell and be a fucking nuisance. This is idiotic.
We are aware of a video that's being circulated that has gained local and national attention about child care centers in Minnesota. While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very.
For the record, this is precisely what I was saying was going to happen. Okay? When you introduce bad faith actors, biased propagandists that do not abide by any sort of journalistic standards whatsoever. And while, you know, mainstream journalists and legacy publishers sometimes even drop the ball on that shit, random people are completely unaccountable. But there is an active investigation taking place into all these facilities. But instead of letting those active investigations take place, these guys are going over there and, you know, filming children. This is not the appropriate way to go. And while people say, oh, Hassan, you're only doing this because you want to do ass covering because you love when Somali Americans do fraud, that's not the case. I want the investigators to do their fucking jobs, okay? I do not give a shit about anything else. I do not want welfare fraud to take place. I do not want any sort of fraud to take place at all. I am a person who wants there to be strong social safety nets, okay? The issue here is you are now obstructing active investigations. You are causing investigators to redirect their attention to random places that might not be under the lens of scrutiny, for example. You might think it's appropriate, but you're pulling away resources from an already exhausted group of investigators anyway, and you're harassing children and families while you're doing it. It's the worst possible thing you could do when there is an active court case taking place. What is this? I'm sure you have seen this from today, but The Hill is talking some Hasanabi shit. Remember, The Hill has right-wing reporters who will also fucking lean into stories like this. So it's not surprising to me that they did that. Wow, Hassan Piker excuses Minnesota childcare fraud. I did not. And if they were truthful and accurate in their fucking reporting as a serious news outlet, they would know that. For example, and I will say this over and over again, EDP is a pedophile, right? EDP is a fucking pedophile. We know that. EDP is also a free man, okay? EDP is still a free man despite being a pedophile and trying to actually find children to rape. The reason why is because there was no real fucking investigation. The reason why is because the only investigation that was conducted was YouTubers. This is the issue. Now imagine if there was already an active investigation taking place into EDP's pedophilia and a bunch of fucking slop tubers came in and fucked it up. Because that's kind of what's happening here. It's so stupid.
Confirm for us the $4 million figure. We've been hearing that a lot. Is that
Don't know where that came from. I have no idea where that came from.
$4 million.
That's a completely false claim. We don't make that much with the amount of children we have.
How much money are you receiving money from the state, or how does the funding work here for you all? Yeah, I don't think people understand.
This is an interview with Ibrahim Ali, the son of the owners of the Quality Learning or Learning Center here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He spoke at length about everything related to the daycare, the allegations, etc. Other than about 1 minute and 30 seconds, the entire video is uncut. I trimmed anything that was just filler stuff or questions that were being asked in the background as an effort to save time to be able to fit the entire video on TikTok.
As Minnesota, as Somalis, as people that own this business for 8 years now, we do nothing but to uplift the community, uplift our children, uplift one another, uplift non-Somalis, uplift Somalis to make a better community for all of us. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, they're not doing it, it's just like if he would have came during operational hours and there's no one here, okay, you've got a point. He came, I think it was 11 a.m. Obviously, there's no cars in the parking lot. If you look around, there's cars now. Yeah, because our employees are here, our children are here, our clients are here. But don't come at 10 a.m. and they're like, hey, their door's not open. Obviously, our door's not going to be open at 10 a.m. We're not open 10 a.m. The sign on the door says that. Opening the daycare license is not easy whatsoever. I see a lot of people pointing fingers at DHS. DHS does a good job to the point that if you ask most daycare owners, Somali or not Somali, it's a really strenuous process.
Yeah, I brought this up as well. I mean, this part of the conversation is correct. Like, there are a lot of things that come out in licensing investigations, regardless of whether or not there is a Somali person operating the business or a white person operating the business, right? That's just how it is. He visited over a dozen daycare centers, and the one that they're latching onto is the Leering Center. Yeah, the irony, of course, is that, like, it's not like they fucking put the sign up themselves. Like, I mean, they put the sign up, but they commissioned a sign, and the sign was wrong because the person who made the sign made a wrong sign. They're making it seem like these guys are, you know, they're so stupid. They're so stupid. They didn't see that it said Leering Center. Yeah, there was a fucking typo in the sign. They kept it up, and I suspect that, you know, they wanted... it's the side door sign, for the record. It's not even the front door sign. The front door sign is correct. Then why post the sign? Why do you think they posted it? I assume, I have no way of confirming this, but I suspect the reason is because they already paid money for it and they're waiting for the new sign to come in.
You have to admit paperwork. You have to submit paperwork daily. You have to do a monthly. You have to do a yearly. They have to make sure kids are coming.
Like, a lot of this stuff stems from people just simply not knowing basic facts, right? And why should they? Why should you know the basic facts about, like, running a fucking childcare facility and the trials and tribulations that go into running a childcare facility? You just don't know. You don't fucking understand that stuff. So in a moment like this, what you're supposed to do is engage in critical thinking, okay? You're supposed to think, I wonder if it's commonplace for childcare facilities to have these sorts of issues. Like, I wonder if there's a licensing structure in childcare facilities. I suspect that this is something that is probably regulated heavily by the state, because no competent government is going to allow random adults to be around people's children without doing their due diligence, right? So what you're supposed to do is kind of expand on that initial suspicion that you have. And you're supposed to walk through these steps. You're supposed to go, okay, what is the primary government regulator that would look at these childcare facilities, especially if they're giving them money? But even if they're not giving them money, even if it's a totally private facility, right? There still has to be a licensing process. For Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's the Department of Human Services, right? What they're calling DHS for short. So you go to the DHS system and you look and you see if there are any sort of licensing issues, which we did do, right? We did that. We went through and we looked at all of the facilities that he went to, that Nick went to, and we found out that the Department of Human Services had actually gone to every single one of these facilities. Now, there is still some inconsistencies, of course. The major inconsistency now is that the state itself, a separate department within the state, said that this place was closed. Okay? Now they're saying the place is not closed. That's an inconsistency. You need to think critically now. You need to try to figure out if the other state, the spokesperson for Minneapolis, or the Minneapolis department, did they misspeak? Did they not know? Did they not do their due diligence? Okay. Was the place closed temporarily or permanently? These are questions that you are supposed to ask in this situation.
Have to make sure parents are busy with work or school per se. If the parents are not occupied, we don't get paid. So for example, you bring your children to me. While we're open, if you're at home, we don't get paid for those children. Those children can't come to us. We can decide as they can, hey, like out of just to do a favor for the parent, we'll bring the parents. But those kids, we're not gonna get paid for it. The day their parents stop working or stop going to school, we don't get paid for it. So it's not like, hey, just enroll yourself in daycare. It's not that easy. The parents themselves, yearly, there's a redetermination form, how much they make, where they live, the house income, the size of the house. They have to fill all those out. What kind of income they make, both parents, how much they make. If they make over a certain threshold, the government does not pay for it. So it's not like the government is paying for people that have their pockets full. It's people that can't afford it and are working and are going to school. So the government and DHS make sure that person is not able to take care of their children. That's the only time they can bring it to our daycare or any daycare. If the parent is at home, we're not getting paid.
What do you say? What do you say to people who say this is like all for show? Like all the cars in the parking lot, the kids being dropped off now. It's only a response to that video.
We spoke about this earlier. You guys can come tomorrow. You guys can come on Thursday. You guys come back Monday. If there's not this many cars, let me know. There'll be this many cars. There'll be children going in and out because that's what a daycare center is. There's employees. There's food that we have to serve them. We have to serve them lunch, 2 snacks, and dinner. For 60 plus kids, that bill is not small. That bill is not small. We pay the teachers, obviously. We have.
Oh, wait a minute. The license said there's 99 children, 99 max, 60 at any given moment before people fucking try to identify an inconsistency in the statements that he's making. The only thing that is actually weird about this, okay, from my perspective, is the fact that the state itself said that this place was closed. Did they say it was temporarily closed? Did they say it was closed at the time when they went over there? Or was it actually permanently closed and now it's open again? We do not know. That's the one area. And I'm sure that we will get more information later down the line. This is part of the reason why I always say, like, you shouldn't dive into breaking news and immediately make assumptions off of what you're hearing, because there can be some confusion, okay? But will people turn around and go, oh shit, we got this wrong, let's get back to the drawing board? Probably not. Okay? Anyway, here, we'll finish this and then...
The teachers a good wage, standard, if not more. When they're with us for a certain time, we have to increase their pay. We have to make sure the toys are up to date. We have to make sure even the electronics they use inside the building is up to date. So it's not like the money comes and it's in our pockets.
The other thing that I find really, really damaging about this, the other thing that I find really scary about this is twofold. One, the fact that, like, this bottom of the barrel, like, hysterical propaganda was so effective for many people on the internet, including educated adults that I previously thought were capable of critical thinking. That's number one. And then number two, this drove discourse, especially online, because it was base boosted by Elon Musk. Okay. So Twitter now and for the rest of time will always be able to drive discourse against, certain minority groups or can manufacture hysteria. And that is very frustrating. It's very frustrating that like something as basic as a video such as this one is able to change mainstream discourse. And it's directly in the hands of one singular billionaire who is, as we know, a fucking white supremacist shithead too. Okay. What is this? Atriarch responded.
I'm going to start this.
Do I really have
video
to say
with
this?
an object permanence test? Just, I got to make sure. You guys see me here, right? I'm here. Am I gone to you? Am I back? Am I?
Where do you go?
I need to know that you can pass that before we can move on. Cause I'm kind of blown away here. I feel like I'm a little shocked.
You should really watch this entire video. There's more idiots saying Atriarch than Elon in here, lol. Yeah, if you think Atriarch is responsible for this fucking propaganda flying all around. Everyone was talking about it the day following his drop, and I didn't know who the guy is. Came here to ask about it. Okay. Weak, he is riffing off your filter statement. Yeah, before I knew what Atriarch had said about this, about the initial video, okay? Before I knew what he said about the initial video, before I found that out, I said, I view this video as a filter, okay? Like the Nick Shirley video as a filter. It's a really good filter, and it's a really sad filter in many respects because, unfortunately, a lot of people actually watched it and were like, oh, this is a banger. This is a banger piece of real journalism. They're really driving discourse. It just sucks. It sucks to see because he is a very educated, very thoughtful, very smart guy. Okay, he is. But unfortunately, in some respects, I think he got a little filtered, partially because. Stop saying he's not, okay? I don't care. I don't care to fucking listen to your own personal perspective on this, okay? He's not stopped playing nice. I don't care. I don't care about your takes on this, okay? Yeah, he wasn't filtered. He said he did that on purpose because he wants to appeal to the racists as well. Okay, so I was right in my initial suspicion.
By this
that actually is worse.
Discourse. And now you got me saying I got to do discourse? On my first day back, I just had a really, really nice vacation with my family. I played board games and read books pretty much every day. And now I got to come back and do discourse. Okay, look, here's the deal. Let me give you the context, because we're talking about context a lot today. 2 days ago, I make a video about essentially government fraud in general and my thoughts on it. And I use this Nick Shirley video and the Somali Minnesota situation as the kickoff for that. I used it as the in. And I got 6 ass threads on my Reddit who I swear to God did not watch this video. That's because when I fucking read it, I don't understand. Were they watching the same video that I made? My mind is blown. And so I'm reminded of this thread I saw on Our Teachers. Listen, the kids can read every word that I'm putting in front of them, but if you ask them to say what it means, like what was the paragraph you just read? What was the takeaway?
I can't speak for other people's criticisms, but my criticism entirely was the fact that he said that this was good journalism, okay? And I think the reason why he said that, I suspected at the time, was because he wanted to appeal to a lot of dumb guys who thought it was banger journalism. It wasn't good journalism at all, okay? And it was very disappointing to see Atriarch say that it was fucking good journalism. A did not say that. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. Okay? Now, the rest of the video might have been him actually talking about like fraud and broader fraud initiatives and, all this stuff. And I'm glad that, he is educating people on, all different kinds of fraud. This is something that I care about as well. And it's something that I talked about as well extensively. But let's see what he has to say.
They can't do it. It just, their mind blanks out. So I want to do 2 concepts of media literacy. I just want to break these down. The first one is context. Context is what happens before and after. the things around a word or phrase or section or visual to give it meaning, to inform it. Okay, the context matters. If I tell you nice shirt on its own, that might mean, oh, I really like your shirt. But if I say, fuck you, nice shirt, idiot, well, that's important context. The before and after really informs that particular phrase, and it helps you find takeaways. What is the overall takeaway of a piece? For example, if you just saw the clip of Walter White saying, I am the danger in this stupid hat, you might think, oh, the point of Breaking Bad is that cooking meth is cool and Walter White is great. That might be your takeaway. But if you watch the whole piece, you might realize that, oh, okay, the overall takeaway here is that Walter White is a monster, and this is a dangerous, terrible path to go down that's left him alone and broken. I want to go through, this maybe seem a little pedantic, but I want to go through like point by point what I'm trying to hit in this video from 2 days ago. And we're going to take a look at the context and the takeaway, because that's what I would like to be judged on. All right. So this particular section, this is the one that a lot of people were crashing out on, which, surprise, surprise, is in the first like 30 seconds. Surprise. And I show this clip from Nick Shirley. And the reason I show this is not because I am platforming Nick Shirley. It is because this video.
I didn't say he was platforming Nick Shirley. I said he was trying to take advantage of the pre-existing platform that Nick Shirley got off of, let's be real, racialized harassment of a minority that is in the crosshairs right now due to an ongoing investigation, a real one, into fraud that he, Nick Shirley, used as a jump-off point to go and harass a bunch of random fucking people that work in medical facilities of Somali descent in Minneapolis. No part of that was real journalism. As a matter of fact, there was plenty of instances where he actually had the opportunity, Nick Shirley did, to do real journalism and invite scrutiny or suspicion into the comings and goings of many of the healthcare facilities or childcare facilities he actually went to. But instead of doing that, he just chose to fucking slam a camera at the doors of all these places and demand to see the children, which of course is never going to work. That's not how anything works, right? Now, bringing any sort of positive assessment or any sort of like fucking positivity in the direction of this random dumb fuck who was at January 6th, who very clearly is doing propaganda for the Republican Party and not even doing a very good job at it, to be fair, and making it seem as though there was anything in that video in the 43 minutes that we watched that was actually bringing new information, new pieces of evidence, for example, that would be worthy of being branded as journalism, is ridiculous. There was nothing there that was offering any sort of journalistic value. Okay? I'm not talking about Atrioc. I'm saying Nick Shirley did not do any journalism, let alone good journalism. Okay? Yeah, there was a private security ad in the video. There was an ad right after he talked about how the Minneapolis or the Minnesota flag is now a Somali flag. It was just fucking bullshit. It was racialized bullshit. It was complete fucking slopaganda. Okay? That's it.
Has been pushed by Elon Musk to 121 million people. That is like 40% of the entire Twitter user base.
He is right, though, about Atrioc is right about the whole, you're platforming arguments. I hate that shit. Stupid. You can't platform something that is being base boosted by the wealthiest billionaire on the fucking planet. And a lot of people immediately go, you're platforming. What is this? Yes, just make a video on Charity Farah. Don't link it to Somalis. No, you can even actually talk about the Nick Shirley video. Of course you should talk about the Nick Shirley video. It's the number one thing. If you want to fucking get an algorithmic boost from the Nick Shirley video, you can talk about the Nick Shirley video. Why wouldn't he talk about it? Of course, I talked about it too, right? The problem here isn't talking about the Nick Shirley video. The problem here is he knows better, or at least he should know better than to even make it seem as though this guy was doing anything positive, right? Beyond clout farming off of a pre-existing investigation that has been covered endlessly for the last fucking 2-3 years at this point. Okay? You literally are the Donald Trump of Twitch in all the worst ways. You slam your opinions down the viewers' throats, and if everyone slightly disagrees with your point of view, yes, dude, I am exactly like the pedophile protecting multi-billionaire president who actually has a cryptocurrency fraud going that he launched the day before his inauguration, who is responsible for endless bombing campaigns. It's exactly like that. Just say I'm a cultist, dude. You don't have to literally try to do this thing where you're like, oh, you're just like MAGA. You slam your opinions down your viewers' throats. Is that Donald Trump's worst aspect for you, you think? The fact that he has, the fact that he slams his opinions down people's throats? That's the worst aspect of Donald Trump? You could use a much better analogy if you want to. You just want to say Donald Trump because you're fucking lazy, okay? And no, I don't slam my opinions down people's throats when they slightly disagree with me. I understand that there is nuance. And not only that, but my fucking audience yells at me all the goddamn time for having any sort of charitability or nuance, specifically in the case of Atrioc, for example. Everyone in my community was fucking yelling at me. If I was so audience captured, I'd be leaning into whatever the fuck they're saying. Am I audience captured or am I actually fucking whipping my audience all the time? Make up your fucking minds, okay? Because more often than not, if you come in here, and this is a criticism that I think has validity, I'm yelling at my fucking audience because they're being uncharitable, okay? The fact that his audience would commit murder for him like yours is the worst. Brother, you are, I'm sorry to say this, but a little hysterical if you think that my audience would commit murder for me, okay? And you're still comparing Donald Trump to a Twitch streamer. Please, at some point you have to snap out of it, okay? It is your own parasocial investment that you have, whether hateful or in a loving manner, into content creators that has caused you to make analogies such as this one. If you're going to talk about like my cultish attitude or whatever the fuck you're suggesting, you can at the very least point to a real example, okay? This is nothing but a self-report. And not only that, but also, once again, especially in this instance, I'm actually yelling at my audience quite a bit for being ridiculous about Atrioc's initial commentary. So you're wrong. Am I audience captured or am I constantly yelling at my audience? Which is it? Maybe it's both, okay? Maybe there's a lot of feedback that comes in, but now we've moved beyond it. Now I'm actually being derailed by one random dickhead. Your audience calls them the worst names they can think of. You wonder why people are so scared to start discourse with you. It's literally your way or they'll throw you off the highway. Again, I have reasonable disagreements with people all the fucking time. Is there an attitude in this community that actually dictates that it's my way or the highway? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is there a broader attitude amongst the left? Is this a real problem on the online left? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is it something that I routinely yell about? If you were actually spending any time... Wait, what? Nope. No. Chatter. See, this is the problem. You've already decided that I'm a villain in your story. So you're not even hearing me. I'm agreeing with you. I'm actually agreeing with you, chatter. Your initial assessment is correct. Okay? Yes, there is a my way or the highway attitude. Okay? And there is a my way or the highway attitude in this community as well. It's something that I yell about all the time. It's something that I try to stamp out all the time. You understand? And no, you didn't misclick. You just misheard. And you didn't even mishear. You're not listening. Okay? This is the issue. What is this? You're getting baited by the current LSF talking point. This is what they were saying about Extra Emily being afraid of her friend talking out against you. There was another clip of you on LSF for your chat going against Peach. You are getting baited, bro. Again, there were people in my chat that were getting frustrated yesterday at my friend, Peach, right? What did I do? I yelled at them and I told them not to do that. And then people clipped me literally yelling at my chat to not do that and said, see, he's doing it. It's not bait. Y'all are terrible. Keep yelling at them. Check logs, please. Does not mean brigading others online, though. Wait, what? Your way or the highway is so fucking stupid because anti-Piker attitude is racist, transphobic, pro-apartheid, pro-genocide. What are you saying, idiot chatter? I mean, there is that element too, but again, there's varying degrees of disagreement. Is someone disagreeing with me on whether or not Israel's committing a genocide? Well, that's an entirely different subject matter. Okay?
It's on TV news. It is everywhere. This is a massive video. I'm not platforming shit. I'm responding to this exogenous event as a way to bring a different narrative than what is being pushed with it.
He's clickbaiting into talking about fraud in general, mass fraud. This is an appropriate thing to do. I don't have any issues with that. And I think people that are saying he was platforming Nick Shirley are being silly. It's a childish criticism to have.
That is the point. So let's start with the before and after. Now, this is the beginning of the video.
I agree with him
so
on
for
this take,
before,
at least.
let's look at the context of my fucking channel. I got people in the comments being like, wow, are you pivoting MAGA? Are you just buying what Elon Musk says wholesale? Bro, I've got like a minute cottage industry out of questioning what Elon Musk says. You think I take Elon Musk at face value?
Okay. He doesn't agree with Elon Musk. And he talks about how like ICE is demonizing communities. He talks about Sam Hyde. Wait, what is this? I think he's trying to reach an audience that's more likely influenced by misinformation. A standard joke thumbnail makes them think it'll be more of an average video.
By the misinformation. You got to package things right to get people who actually need to hear it. I think this is a very powerful thumbnail. I mean, a powerful comment. I really appreciate what this guy said. It reminds.
That's what I said as well. That's what I thought as well. My criticism, and I don't even think Atriak is responding to me directly, but I think he's responding to his own fan base that was yelling at him he's not wrong. Your mod's banned for having opposing views. Brother, this is incredibly, incredibly vague, okay? For example, think about something that is near and dear to you, right? I don't know what your background is. You're just a random username to me on the internet. But think about like anything. Think about something that you care about, right? Imagine you're a black chatter, okay? And someone comes in here when I talk about systemic racism. And their disagreement is actually that systemic racism doesn't exist and that black people actually deserve to be brutalized by the police, for example, right? That's not just a simple disagreement. That's someone upholding white supremacy. So in an effort to make sure that this is an educational space where there can be reasonable disagreement, yes, oftentimes we will ban certain people, but that's not just a simple disagreement, right? Of course, for the record, there is no other chat, no other community where you will get this much time and effort for being a contrarian naysayer in the chat. No other large content creator will ever take the time out to dignify you with a response. I do that. And a lot of people try and take advantage of that to try to derail the conversation, try to bait me, try to get mad, try to get me to be upset so they can clip it, they can post it, they can get mad about it, they can talk about how I'm both audience captured and also simultaneously incredibly mean to my audience for differences in opinion. I will, of course, continue doing what I've been doing and will continue to keep doing it, but just understand that, it's not a simple disagreement that we ban people over. And if there are instances where we ban someone or one of my moderators bans someone for simple disagreement, I usually will check it, as I did earlier today. For example, someone came in and was clearly trying to derail, trying to be annoying, trying to be a nuisance.
Me of a similar video I made where around the H-1B stuff, this guy made a fucking Twitter video that went super viral. This also went viral. And I watched this video and I said, look, some parts of this video are funny. I can see why this would be appealing to someone, but it's like a cup of poison, okay? They give you a little bit of a taste of the good stuff, and then you fall into the cup of poison. It's like, that was my whole metaphor about how, a few things that you agree with in something like this might be a way to put a much worse narrative on it. So this is a context that's important.
See, this is a great example of the rehabilitative method working. For the record, I never baited you for a clip, but I was extremely ungenerous. I'm working on it. It's not exactly productive. Enfant Door, time and time again, has come in here to say, I don't actually care about the needs of the black community or maybe even have a lot of white supremacist attitudes. But time and time again, I have talked to Enfant Door and tried to describe my position. Look where we're at. W growth for the chatter. So for all the naysayers who say you should have banned Enfant Door the first time they fucking came in and chirped at you, guess what? I didn't do that. And it's now that person is being a little bit more understanding, recognizing that maybe they had a tendency to just immediately snap for reasonable disagreement that might happen. Okay?
Going in. This context is what allows me to make a thumbnail like the economy is saved with Donald Trump. Do you think that I literally mean?
Okay. Yeah. He's talking about the principle of clickbait here.
Okay.
And then he
so
says
in
he
this
was giving damning with
journalism
faint praise.
there.
Is that what it is?
I am damning with faint praise. Okay. I follow it immediately by calling the younger guy in the video a clout obsessed Zoomer. I am merely saying that the fact that they got all of the records of all of the spending by all these different organizations and the addresses and found that many of them were listed on the same address is worth giving an opening to, okay? Because we're getting 100 million people watching this video, many of whom are super angry at it. They're riled up. And I don't want to open by saying, dismissing it. I don't want to be dismissive. I don't want to throw it away. I want to say, listen, there's some stuff here worth talking about. Let's get into it. I want to open with a hand out to let people come in and see the narrative that I am trying to build over the next 20 minutes. That's what I'm trying to do. I think it is more effective. I think it's how you...
Yeah, that was my take on it, but I think I'm a little bit more critical. That is what I assumed he was doing and did get mad at him for doing that, for the record. He was clickbaiting in an effort to come across as more reasonable to the dumb fuck centrists and the dumb fuck people that have actually leaned into the arguments being presented in the Nick Shirley video. And that is the reason why I popped off even before I heard his statement, when I was like, I can't stand motherfuckers who will literally, just because something is popular, will refuse to stand by their principles and will make it seem like there's something legitimate that this person was engaging in. I mean, this guy literally did racialized agitprop that may or may not play a role in actually undermining the existing investigations that have been taking place in fucking Minneapolis, Minnesota for like the last 3 years. Okay? I think clickbaiting in general is fine. I do it too. Or leaning into, leaning into viral moments and then trying to draw in the crowd and then explain to them your worldview is a good thing. Okay? But there is no reason to look at a video such as this and then be like, well, there's some good journalism here. He gave it a lot more praise than just damning with faint praise. That was my issue with his video. Okay? It's a Trojan horse, though. He's tricking them into listening to him. It's literally just a different method for what you do, changing people's minds. No, it's not a Trojan horse that works if you don't actually turn around and say, hey, this guy is a right-wing fucking propagandist. What are you doing? The main takeaway from watching a video like that is to go, this is the dumbest fucking thing that I've actually ever seen in my entire life. I can't believe so many people are actually fucking falling for this propaganda. It's so bottom of the barrel. That's it. Because his approach to it, I think he's
changed people's
making
mind.
It seem like he had a much more critical tone in the beginning or something when that wasn't the case, right?
We need.
Like this is where I
within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone.
Like this guy can't even fucking speak, brother. Come on, he is like not even. You know, even when professional journalists are responding to this video, they at least bring up the fact that he's a conservative commentator. You know what I mean?
We've talked about the before. Okay, that's the before of this one comment that is like 6 fucking Reddit threads. I have a 20-minute video. All right, now
no, I didn't skip the part where he said it was good journalism again. He's saying that there was at least enough in this fucking ridiculous video to claim that it was journalism, because at least that the random guy, David Zimmer, the random conservative guy, David Zimmer, that works for like American Excellence Project or whatever, was bringing new information about how much money that these organizations had gotten. Okay, it just sucks. It sucks to see it. It sucks to see it, especially because Atriot is smarter than this. His name isn't David Zimmer. That's the wrong person. No, it's like David Zimmerman or something. He's a former law enforcement guy, isn't he? No, we found the guy. Pretty sure. Or, I mean, there's a photo of him on a website that we looked at with his name being David Zimmer. Yeah, this is the guy. Is this a different guy? Wrong. Mark Zimmerman? What do you mean? Bruh, Mark Zimmerman. Wrong. Is this not the guy on the video? Am I experiencing fucking like face blindness for white people? This is literally the guy. It's just a younger photo of the same guy, no? Am I crazy? That is not the same person. Not him, fam. Am I being gaslit right now? Mark Zimmerman is own a pixel. Oh, that person is just making a joke. Okay, but like, am I doing anti-white racism right now? Not a good look, sweetie. I'm pretty sure this is the guy from the American Experiment. No, this is a different guy who gave a reported and he lives in a different state. We need the PSL guys to come in here and do a tibula analysis. Confirmed Hassan hates white guys. Okay, regardless. Random guy named David, who weirdly enough, they never actually fucking give additional background information on, comes in with the amount of, with like all the amounts that these different places have gotten in federal funds. Okay? Sure. Great. What does that do? There is nothing that you do beyond that. You don't go to people to say, hey, you don't go to the fucking government to ask. You don't go and ask anyone in the Department of Human Services, like, this place got $5 million. Why did they get $5 million? Like, none of that shit took place. There is no real journalism in this situation. Like, I explained it over and over again. There is a better way. There is a better way to cut right-wing propaganda here. You could just say, like, look at these scary Somalis that are, doing a horrible job taking care of your children with government funds. They could have done that. That would have been a more well, I don't want to say more effective propaganda, because obviously bottom of the barrel propaganda is more effective than even trying to bring evidence to the table now. But basically that would be at least like harder to disagree with. Yeah, the Ben Shabibo route.
Let's go to the after.
Anyway.
So after this, again, I never mentioned fucking Nick Shirley after this 2-minute mark at the beginning. Then I go into how the system of us focusing on just the goal and the bill signing allows opportunities for broader fraud in general to be ripe. Then I go into what actually happened with real journalistic sources in this Somali.
Wait, why are you making a distinction between real journalistic sources and this right-wing slop merchant then? I thought you said it was good journalism initially. Maybe I misunderstood, but it kind of felt like it wasn't just damning with faint praise.
Nursing hall among the Somali community of Minnesota, dealing with millions, if not billions of dollars of taxpayer money funneled into things like luxury vacations.
So this is from a real investigation, right? This is from a real investigation.
Luxury
he starts off
cars
by talking about a
and
real
massive
investigation that
stacks
took
of
place, real evidence that came out of this investigation.
Cash sent overseas. Now, I want to give credit here. The person who really blew this story up on social media and YouTube is this young.
This person was not the person who blew that story up. Okay? This is a separate story. This is a totally separate story. So, wrong.
But we'll talk about, which is a so-called learning center in Minnesota that was billing the government to do learning for kids.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong. And
I'm just frustrated because the problem isn't mentioning Nick, it's just how he talked about what Nick did. Exactly. And Cloud District Enjoyer is the one who initially actually sent me the Atrioc video for the record and said, oh, this is a really good video. And then I watched the beginning of the video and I was like, this is not a very good video because he just fucking glazes him for the first like 3 minutes.
Said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. If you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out.
Not a great look. Not a great look. And in the video, he goes around with this. It's actually a pretty insane tag team of like a seemingly clout goblin Zoomer and like this old guy David here who's like got all the files and paperwork from 10 years of tracking this. And their combination is actually kind of beautiful. And they go around and investigate all these different buildings that are supposedly, offering learning to kids or food or daycare or autism preparedness. And there's no kids, and they're all charging the government large amounts of money. So I respect a lot the work of this duo and what they did. There's a part
like we have. I mean, look, maybe I'm willing to say like, oh, you know, it's a misunderstanding or something like that. But like when you say stuff like that, you're leaning into it. You're hamming it up.
To the video
you
I
know?
don't like when they have AI generated Sora videos of black people throwing money in the air in luxury cars. I think it sends the wrong message with the core journalism of actually.
Like that's the problem. Okay. He makes it seem like, oh, it was just a little too racist with the AI videos, but otherwise it's good. That's not the takeaway from this video. Do you see what I mean? That's the problem, because it wasn't any fucking core journalism. You're validating whatever the fuck the video was main point was, and it's bullshit. You know? Because the core journalism was what? Going outside of random facilities and demanding to see the children with two guys in balaclavas and a camera crew, yelling at the people that were in and around these facilities, also to see the children, right? Which is already ridiculous. Going to a claiming that the Somali flag is actually the new flag of the state of Minnesota somehow. Another fucking insane right-wing conspiracy that he put in there as well. And then refusing to do any real journalism to see whether or not these places were getting, you know, their licenses checked year over year. This is one of the most regulated industries in the country, okay?
Going to investigate
Asmongold is fact checking you right now. I fucking love that. Where are the fact checks? Asmongold is fact checking me. I have to see what that means. What is a fact check from Asmongold?
I don't really know. I know that, like, you know, Lebanon had like that thing happen, and so did Egypt, right? Where they had like a militia group. But yeah, they do not like them at all. Why? So basically, whenever they used to take, was it Jordan? I forgot which one. And I'm not, this is like, I'm talking about a generality, right? And like, this is just something I've observed.
I don't think he's fact checking me.
Like, because
I don't think he has the capacity to fact check me, but I think he just wanted me to click on his stream, but it didn't work anyway. But yeah, going back to it.
I really enjoyed it. So listen, let's back up here. When it comes to government fraud, there's a general zoomed out pattern.
Yeah, the rest of this video is him basically actually giving good information, talking about fraud, how it works, all this stuff. My criticism with the video was just the initial like normalizing, the initial like leaning into the already viral racialized fucking slopaganda that this guy was crafting. Okay, bottom of the barrel slopaganda too. It's an overshare, but I think it's important. I learned in therapy that the ungenerous lens through which I view people was in part how I saw myself or the experience I went through. I wasn't healthy, and now I try to hope for the best when I don't have anything positive to contribute. Thanks, man. Okay. Hell yeah. And not only is this like straight up fucking racialized slopaganda, okay, with no new information whatsoever, but it's also very dangerous because now you got a bunch of other copycat right-wingers going around to random fucking kindergartens and daycares and shit that they're Googling around their neighborhood. Dumbass dog beater. Yeah. Don't blame that guy. I love guys like that. Like guys that don't really know, like that know that there's like a meta, but don't really fully know what the meta is, and just be like, I heard you're actually beating your dog. And yeah, now they have done two things. This video has done two things. One, shift the attention, especially on the internet, shift the major discourse in the direction of inviting extra scrutiny and maybe a little bit of racialized scrutiny, if I do say so myself, towards the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the entirety of the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It has also created a bunch of copycats where people search for kindergartens and daycares and child care facilities in their neighborhoods to see if there's any of them that have like weird names, you know, Muslim sounding names or anything like that, only to go and, you know, do the same thing that Nick is doing. Okay. This is obviously unsustainable. This is obviously dangerous. This is crazy. Right? And I don't like that this video is not only doing all of these things, but also potentially interfering in an ongoing investigation to actual fraud. It fucking sucks. Okay? In any case, let's get back to the adults now. This is Atriok being like, oh, I just like, basically the video, this second video that he did is you know, talking about how, you know, he didn't actually mean it. And he was just trying to leaning into the pre-existing meta, the already like very viral, the very viral video by offering it a little bit of praise. But he actually is smarter than that, is what he's saying. Okay. It was disappointing regardless, but you know, what are you going to do? I think you're being incredibly overly critical of someone who's politically aligned with you. No, I'm not. And that's the reason why I'm not saying he's racist or he's racist for literally looking at this racialized slop and not calling it out for what it is. As a matter of fact, a lot of other people are saying that, and I'm yelling at them for saying that. I was fairly generous in my assessment. If you think any sort of fucking criticism of a you know, any sort of I do media literacy. I do media criticism. He's doing media. Of course, I'm going to criticize it. Anyway, so this was one of the first things that they came out with.
All right, well, the investigation of alleged
And now there's
massive
even more.
Medicaid fraud in
There's
Minnesota
more additional investigations taking place.
is taking a new turn based on a viral video. Homeland Security agents visited dozens of daycare centers and health clinics in Minneapolis on Monday after a well-known YouTube personality claimed more than 24 of these facilities were being used as fronts for fraud.
Don't we try to lure Asmund fans? I mean, this is what I also always say about the Democratic Party. You don't try to lure people in here by compromising on your values, your first principles. You don't lure people in by being more racist or leaning into racialized propaganda. You find areas avenues where they agree with you. And then once the door of charitability is open, because they go, you know what? Maybe I was misinformed about this Hassan guy. He agrees with this thing that I fucking care about deeply. And he actually is making a very convincing case defending this thing that I care about deeply. Maybe I was actually wrong about him. Let me listen to all the other things he has to say too. That's how it fucking works. There's never been a moment where I've like tried to get Asmongold fans or lure Asmongold fans by being like, you know, Asmongold is right. It is kind of base to fucking try and laser every immigrant. Why did I bother human trafficking when I should have just opened a Somali daycare? Oh God, fucking gross.
Jonah Kaplan of CBS News Minnesota has been on the story from the start. He checked out the latest allegations and joins us now from Minneapolis. Jonah, good morning.
Kelly, good morning. Early childhood education, that is a program that's funded in part and supported by Medicaid, but according to federal prosecutors that I spoke with, it's really only vaguely atop their priority list when it comes to investigating fraud. Still, with this video getting so much traction online, attention is back on the state government, which is supposed to manage the money and regulate these critical facilities.
From Homeland Security Investigations.
The Department of Homeland Security
Great Muslim throwing other Muslims on the bus. He's not a real Muslim. Come on.
30 sites around the Twin Cities, appearing to ask businesses about nearby child care or health care facilities, investigating what Secretary Kristi Noem called rampant fraud. The targets seem to come from this now viral video posted this weekend by YouTuber and MAGA supporter Nick Shirley, alleging 10 child care and more than 20 health centers in Minnesota are scam businesses fraudulently receiving millions in federal funds.
So this is quality.
Also, these guys should sue the fuck out of this guy. For the record, if a journalistic outlet literally went in and did this kind of video, they would get fucking sued into oblivion. Straight up. I know they probably don't have all the funds to do something like that. But the reality of the matter is it's the easiest lawsuit of all time. There's a reason why media companies actually operate with certain standards. Part of that is because they don't want to get fucking sued. You can literally have the city sue him.
Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
The video has been amplified by the White House and Elon Musk, but state officials push back on some of the claims. On Monday, the State Department that oversees child care centers said each facility shown had children at them during unannounced site visits in the past 6 months.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
CBS News also
basically, in this day and age, anytime anybody gets enough virality for the record, everyone has to take it seriously, no matter how fucking stupid it is. I foresee this being very damaging to discourse. I think this is going to destroy discourse even further, especially at a time when we don't have any sort of, consensus reality. It's going to be even fucking dumber than this.
viewed the daycares mentioned in the video. All but 2 have active licenses, and some were inspected as recently as 3 weeks ago. Many centers, like this one in South Minneapolis, were cited and fined for safety violations, but investigators found no evidence of fraud. Separate from the child care center investigation, more than 90 people have been charged over the past 3 years in an alleged scheme to defraud state programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children. Federal prosecutors warn the total amount of fraud could reach $9 billion. Though state officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, challenged that estimate. Earlier this month, CBS News revealed exclusive details about the expensive trips, luxury vehicles, and high-class real estate that a group of convicted fraudsters bought with millions of taxpayer money. Governor Walz has also been steadfast in defending his administration's record and actions in terms of fighting the fraud. Those actions include state investigations and freezing of new licenses in 14 specific high-risk Medicaid-supported programs. Federal prosecutors also on those programs. Early childhood education is not one of them.
All right, well, Homeland Security officials are on the ground in Minnesota conducting a massive investigation into multiple fraud schemes happening in the city.
This comes as a group of Minnesota GOP lawmakers urging Governor Tim Walz to resign.
Madeline Rivera joins us live from Washington with the latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. Attorney General Pam Bondi says they've been looking into these allegations of fraud for months, and they expect more prosecutions will be coming. So far, she says 98 people have been charged, 85 of whom are of Somali descent. DHS officials posted footage on X yesterday showing federal agents on the ground in Minneapolis investigating suspected cases of fraud in daycare and healthcare centers. It comes after an independent reporter, Nick Shirley's video investigating federally funded child care centers in the Twin Cities went viral. Minnesota officials are pushing back, though, saying previous investigations into the locations referenced.
Bro, what is the investigation? This is not an investigation. I wish there was a leftist grifter that could go to Florida and confront empty charter schools built by DeSantis' wife and go viral that way. There are so many instances of fraud. I love fighting fire with fire, but if you think that this shit would bang in the same way, you're out of your fucking mind. Because there is no Elon equivalent. There is no similar need by moneyed interest to try to really foment as much Islamophobic narratives as possible that ties back to immigration, that ties back to key issues that the Trump administration is choosing to quote unquote combat. This is a perfect shitstorm because there is the valid investigation that is taking place, okay? But you're never going to have a situation where, like, the vice president is going to fucking retweet it. Elon Musk is going to base boost it on Twitter. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen at all. Also, Republicans in general do not give a fuck about fraud. We know that already. The rise of modern conspiratorial discourse is inversely proportional to diminishing critical thinking. Yes. Yes. The more, I mean, this is simply put, people are getting dumber, okay? And the dumber they get, the worse this kind of stuff gets. That's why I even brought up Project Veritas, right? Project Veritas puts more effort into their to their right-wing propaganda than Nick Shirley does, right? They at least like try to identify someone that works at a place. They try to get him liquored up. They do deceptive editing and they have hidden cameras and stuff like that. But that's still more work than just simply rolling up outside of facilities and demanding to see the children there.
in Shirley's videos did not uncover evidence of fraud. One childcare business that's now under the microscope is Quality Learning Center in Minneapolis, which misspelled learning on its sign. They say they're fixing the spelling.
A lot of the
Are you someone who thinks we've passed peak intelligence in society? What, in America maybe? There are plenty of other places where people are still educating themselves and would not fucking fall victim to this level of bottom of the barrel propaganda.
journalism that's been going on the last couple of days.
Project Veritas is a right-wing think tank funded by a lot of right-wing billionaires that loves these sorts of conspiracy theories and would do basically what Nick Shirley's doing, and would go around, and whenever there's like some issue happening that Republicans want to cut propaganda on, or Republicans want to make want to raise the point of salience on, they would go and try to make YouTube videos with like hidden cameras and stuff like that. They would honeypot people. They would get them liquored up. They would overemphasize the importance of the person that they've identified as a person that works in whatever insert organization here. They've done it for DSA. It's funny how they're implying that the daycare center itself made the professional signage. I know that's so fucking stupid, but that's like not even something I can combat at this point. I like that, I like that they make it seem as though they wrote it down. Yeah, Acorn is a great example of this, right? I agree with your criticism and overall takeaway from the Atrioc videos, but not watching the entire follow-up is kind of lame if you're going to continue the criticism. Brother, I understand the point he's making. I already said I understand what he was trying to do, which is to open the door and Trojan horse a bunch of people into listening to him rant about, listening to him educate them about fraud and how it works and how, what these guys are doing. Okay. I get it. I'm still stating that you can do that, and it's understandable to lean into the hyper viral video without actually saying it's good journalism, or without actually making it seem as though there was anything worthy of praise in that at all. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think, I think it's bad. It's wrong. It's wrong to present yourself as agreeing with someone like fucking Nick Shirley when I don't think Atrioc, looking into it a little bit further, agrees with anything that person was saying at all.
Has been really dishonest. I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but I do feel like what was done was someone came to our building outside of operating hours. When there's a specific sign on our door that says our days and our hours, he came outside of those hours and then claimed, hey, they're closed and they're still making money. They're using taxpayer money to work. And it's like, you don't come outside of operational hours and then say they're using taxpayer money. That was completely false.
Regardless, state Republicans are slamming Governor Tim Walz, saying they've been sounding the alarm over fraud in Minnesota's childcare space for years.
You always ask for charitability, but can't give it to anyone else? Wait, what? No, I am giving Atrioc charitability. Can I disagree with someone while still being charitable? Is that allowed? I don't think he's an enemy. I don't think he's an op. I don't think he's a bad person. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. No, you think any sort of bare minimum criticism is automatically, it just means that like I hate him, I want to fucking fight him or something. I'm not saying that at all. I like him. I think he's a good person, okay? Jesus fucking Christ. Stop being fucking parasocial. I am being charitable. Can I literally disagree a little bit? Is that allowed? Or is that not allowed? You can disagree with me as well, for the record. Plenty of people in the chat are. Plenty of people in the chat are disagreeing with me because I say I am being charitable to Atrioc, ironically enough. It's all right, guys. You're never going to agree with me 100%. Please stop seeking it out.
They say for the good of the state, Governor Walz should step aside. Minnesota needs accountability, a reset, and new leadership that can get us back on the right track. It's not just Minnesota facing accusations of money mismanagement. A California auditor says it recently found millions in wasted dollars in state agencies. Guys, back to you.
All right, Maddie. What type of daycare has the daycare open from 2 to 10? That makes absolutely...
Oh! This is my least favorite. Oh, I can't stand right-wingers, bro. This is literally dumbifying an already dumb audience. oh, I don't understand why a childcare facility would be open at these hours, so it must be fraudulent. Like, if you want to say that there is at least, if you want to say, what are the conditions that these children are being placed in the care, being placed in the custody of other adults, look at all the fucking different times where they've had licensing issues. That's fine. But simply saying, I'm too stupid to understand why a child care facility be open from 2 to 10, as though there aren't parents that work in those fucking time. There is no concept of after school care, or that like parents don't fucking work until 10 p.m. and they need child care facilities that are open at that hour is fucking stupid. This is so frustrating. It's a classic way that right-wingers argue. I don't understand this thing, so there must be a grand conspiracy. They fucking love doing that. Right-wingers love doing that. Actually, stupid people love doing that. It just happens to be that right-wingers are usually the stupid people that I'm talking about. It's so fucking annoying, dude. What the fuck? Oh, why would it be open?
No sense.
I've not seen that.
And then there's some reports in the New York Post that all these places.
Maybe you're not seeing that because you guys all make like $400,000 a year and probably hire a fucking nanny to take care of your children, and you don't work late into the night. Okay? Maybe that's the reason why you can't comprehend why a childcare facility will be open at those hours. Fuck. Like, there are, again, valid criticisms against the Quality Learning Center. And no, it's not the fucking signage, okay? The valid criticisms against the Quality Learning Center should be still matched up against normal daycares. You have to have a control group, like a control daycare. What is the premier daycare that you can match against the the Quality Learning Center to see, does the premier daycare also go through similar licensing issues, okay? What are the big problems at the Quality Learning Center? All of this stuff is readily available. You guys are you have producers. How can you not just like look through it?
Have not had children there at all. And then suddenly when these reports come out.
Yeah, this is even dumber because this is at 7 p.m. It's 7 p.m. during this broadcast. I wonder why, if you had children and you weren't rich enough to hire a fucking nanny, I wonder what you would do with your children. It's 7 p.m. Where would you place your children if you didn't have enough money to hire a nanny? Oh my God.
The children have started to arrive. So somebody's hiding something here.
Well, the children were, what the report said, I think, is that the children were arriving. They had parents bringing the kids there for the optics of it. And then like an hour later, the kids left just so it looked like that there were kids showing up to these places. But Guy, I'm sorry, you're a dad. I'm not dropping my kid off at a learning center that spells learning, leering.
Yeah.
If you can't get it right on the signage, really, we're going to trust that? I don't think so.
But they have the word quality in there, Laura. It's a quality leering center. The quality leering center seems, I don't know, seems legit. Look, whether or not that specific place was engaged in fraud, and it does seem a little sketchy that all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's a bus full of kids for 1 hour, right? That seems odd to me if that's true. What we do know for a fact, and this has been reported not just by independent...
Ironically enough, this kind of commentary does require you to not have object permanence, okay? This kind of commentary requires you to not have object permanence. Oh, children there, children not there. This is weird. This is strange. Like, it's so fucking stupid, dude. Like, I guess the only way to figure out whether or not this is a real child care facility with actual clients, parents that are dropping off their children, is if you have a camera outside of it 24/7. And the moments that the camera's off is when you don't know. Maybe there's a, fuckery going on. Who knows? That's the only way that you can consume information. There is no need for figures of authority that you can lean into, investigations that they could potentially conduct. The only way to know if something is real is if you can see it in front of you at all points. Okay?
independent journalists. It's not just Republicans yelling about it. The New York Times had a big story talking about well over $1 billion in fraud in this state, and the U.S. attorney out there.
The New York Times, you say? Interesting. The New York Times, you say? So the New York Times was covering it, because I thought for the past couple of days you kept saying no one's covering it, no one's covering it, no one in major media is covering this story, but now interesting. Once again, if you're devoid of object permanence, you obviously look at this and you forget that yesterday Fox News was claiming no one's covering it. Actually, they might have even said this in this news article. No one was covering it until this kid went out there and bravely reported on it.
They said the number could be much higher than that, closer to $9 billion.
$9 billion, and he said when he looked at the overall spend on Medicare and Medicaid in the state, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 billion. He says at least half, if not more, he believes is fraudulent. So you're right, it's around $9 billion just in Minnesota. But now we're hearing, as you just heard from Madeline, it could be California. This is probably not going to end, Lawrence, just in Minnesota.
Well, this is why the administration is surging in ICE, and they've already found criminal aliens that are there on the ground. We had the director of ICE, Todd Lyons, on later. This is what he had to say about these sanctuary city policies driving the fraud here.
What we're seeing is there's always a tie when it comes to sanctuary jurisdictions where you can hide in plain sight. You see a lot of these fraudsters use a lot of the sanctuary rules and sanctuary protections to, enact in criminal fraud just like this. We've been on the ground for so long looking into these states that are conducting these type of material fraud. And when Homeland Security Investigations goes into these businesses, there is criminal activity when it comes to labor trafficking, child trafficking.
Oh, yeah, that's the other side. That's the other side of this. Yeah, breaking. U.S. Justice Department announces 98 people have already been charged for fraud in Minnesota. 90 of these were under President Biden's DOJ. I'm not Mr. Team Sports at all, but that's the other part of the story that is incredibly frustrating. That, this investigation started under Biden's Department of Justice. Okay? What the fuck? They're making it seem like Donald Trump personally went in there, found these criminals, and is arresting them. Things don't work the way that you think they do. Things don't work like this. Investigations take time. They take effort. They take money. You have to go and actually sometimes even surveil these locations, right? Not in the way that a random nuisance streamer is doing on YouTube, but actually do it. You have to build a case. You have to charge people. And then you go and you defend the argument. You go to a court and you defend the information that you found and you convince a jury, okay? And then after that, these people are convicted. And then they go to prison. This is a very long process. I can't believe I just have to explain the details of how this stuff works. It's basic shit. It sucks. Normally, in a civilized society, I don't need to explain this shit to anyone because they all understand it. There is a shared understanding of how some things work. Okay? But when there is no shared understanding of how certain things work, how investigations work under the Department of Justice, for example, and how long that process is and how the court system works, for example, you have to always go back to the fucking drawing board on every single issue, And then there are still people who go, la, 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 I can't hear you. You seem biased, libtard, and then that's it. This is genuinely a major issue. Hold on, are you upset? See, this is what I mean. Hold on, are you upset that the fraud folks getting busted, but happy that Biden is the one who started it, but angry that Trump is the one continuing it? I'm so confused. Of course you're confused. You're fucking stupid. Everything confuses you. Where did I say I'm upset about the fraud folks getting busted? I never said that. I said it's good. I said it's a good thing. There has never been a moment where I've said it's a bad thing. Of course you're going to be fucking confused. And then he goes, Big W, I got you to notice me. It's like, okay, dude, yeah, you were just pretending. I know you were pretending. You were simply pretending to be mentally deficient, and everyone is praising you for it. Also, it's additionally funny to say that Trump is busting these fucking, these fraudulent people when Donald Trump is notoriously pardoning people who have done fraud over and over again. Donald Trump himself is doing fraud. The fuck do you mean Donald Trump is busting fraud? He is the fraud enjoyer. And you might say, well, Biden has too. Biden's pardoned people too. Yeah, fuck Biden. The difference between you and I is I don't give a fuck about Joseph Robinette Brandon. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't want to defend him if it's an indefensible thing. You're the one who wants to defend Donald Trump. Yes, this is one of the examples, one of the many examples. Pardoned by Trump after being convicted of 12 counts of bank fraud and tax evasion. Don't have to pay back $17.8 million in restitution or serve a 12-year sentence. But of course, that doesn't matter, right? And it's unironically a case where it's pure projection. Okay, it's pure projection from Trumpies that turn around and go, "Oh, dude, you actually want Somalis to do fraud." No, I don't. I don't want anyone to do fraud. And I'm glad that the Department of Justice was actually investigating it. But I'm also mad at Trump for, dropping certain frauds when those people are close to him. Certain cases of fraud. $47 million fraud case dropped by Trump after Widerhorn made huge donations to his campaign and inaugural fund. Not Somali. DOJ dismisses case against a Trump donor after White House fired career prosecutor. Once again, this kind of hypocrisy does not fucking matter, right? It does not matter. There's another one. Yeah, breaking. This man ran a $1.2 billion nursing home fraud scheme and was pardoned by Trump. We talked about that too. That one's even funnier because I think he is a dual citizen and an immigrant of immigrant background. It makes absolutely no sense how people on the left argue over this stupid shit. You know what they're putting this out there for you to spend your precious time talking about is fucking stupid. If you know this, why do it? Great question. The reason why I do it is because I will fucking pull people off the stupid hill and I will fight no matter what, okay? Because I cannot live in a society where everyone is going down stupid hill. Everyone is just jumping off the stupid hill. We're at the hilltop. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to try to pull them off the hill to the best of my ability, okay? It's crazy. Way too late, brother. Yeah, it is, but I'll keep doing it no matter what. That's the other side of this story that is like really funny too. These people were so mad at me for saying if Republicans cared about Medicare fraud, they would arrest Rick Scott. Well, I said something different than arrest Rick Scott, but that's what I said. And they were so mad at me for saying that. Now, I'm not a pretender. I'm legit dumb. I just jumped in here. Now I have context. You're more upset about the hypocrisy. Got it. No, I'm not even more upset about the hypocrisy. Okay? The hypocrisy is upsetting. I think I'm more upset about the fact that no one gives a fuck about hypocrisy in this situation because everyone just cares about the bias. Cares about whoever, they're on board with, whichever movement they're on board with. I care about people becoming dumber and dumber, okay? That's what I care about.
Federal prosecutors, it was really during COVID that fraudsters set up these fake restaurants or sham businesses and health clinics that would provide things like meals to school children or behavioral health services or housing to people with addiction. And because during COVID you didn't have the same checks and balances, you had social distancing, you couldn't have the site visits, you couldn't have the in-person inspections, well, the fraudsters got away with it all and provided the receipts and collected boatloads of cash from us, the taxpayers. More than 90 people have been charged in the schemes, mostly Somalis.
You said kill him because you hate America, you piece of shit, terrorist, glazing, dictator, cockriding, fat, self-obsessed slop streamer. FYI, you're as good. You are so good. That's why Zach has twice your numbers. Well, you can't help but be obsessed with him. Brother, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with him. I think you might be. I like that you also bring up a content creator by his first name, like you guys are besties. Me and my best friend. You're an adult, man. What are you doing? You're an adult. Do you not have any self-respect? That's so pathetic, brother. Please. That's sad.
And more than 60 people have been
I'm glad you finally noticed that the worst people from his community call him by his name. No, it's not even a bit. It's like unironic. These guys are like my best friend, Zach. Zachary, my beloved. he's killing you. He's got so many more views than you. Okay, great. He's always had more viewers than me. He's a larger content creator who's been around for a lot longer than I've been. You know? I don't understand why you care. You got 0 viewers. Like, do you think you're a part of the team?
Convicted. Now you have this viral video getting traction online. It's from influencer Nick Shirley, and he visited several daycares, Somali-owned daycares in the Twin Cities, and basically accused them of doing the same thing, running these sham operations where kids didn't show up but still billed the federal government and collected millions of dollars in Medicaid funds. We visited those sites too, as did state inspectors many times over the last 6 months, and we found the facts on the ground tell a different story. Those daycares, many of them were written up for safety violations, things like maybe busted equipment or staff training issues, but that's not the same as being fraudulent. So it's important to put...
Wait! What?
All...
What? No! Now I feel like I'm watching you yesterday. Yeah, oh my God. Oh my God.
This into context. Granted, fraud is indisputably an issue in Minnesota, and next year it's going to turn up the heat continuously on state officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's running for re-election. And there are 14 programs, Medicaid-funded programs, that are currently under investigation by state and federal government. But childcare is not one of them. Again, this is something we're going to keep following well into next year.
No way. This is new information for me, except no one gives a shit. That's the other point, okay? No one cares because this is boring, okay? He didn't go and like try to fucking uncover only the most Somali style fraud that could have ever existed. You know what I mean? Like he didn't do any of that shit. So it's not cool. It's not popping. Who gives a fuck, right? Bro didn't demand to see children. And now you got fucking dumbasses doing the same exact thing. Look, more investigative journalism in Columbus, Ohio. And yet again, Somalian-owned daycares with no children.
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Have you ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. I just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
Well, I'm convinced. Fraud.
You've never seen anybody over there?
No, not at all.
So right now we are in front of the Great Minds Learning Academy. This is one of the many daycare centers, learning centers here in Columbus, Ohio that are associated with the Somali.
Oh, damn. They found the Somalis in Ohio are doing the same thing.
Community. As you know, Nick Shirley put out a bombshell report about all these fraudulent daycare facilities in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we wanted to come out to Columbus, Ohio and investigate what might be going on in the second largest Somali community in the United States of America. So this place here is the first place we're gonna knock, and we're gonna see if anybody picks up or answers the door.
You know what's really annoying? I think there's like there's an environment of suspicion around mainstream media. So I would go so far as say I have an easier time going through mainstream narratives and cutting across the noise when they do stuff like this as well. Because like the mainstream does, mainstream news and local news reporting engages in this kind of behavior as well, greatly overemphasizing crime, for example, and building on this like crime panic narrative. This was a huge deal. It warped the minds of so many fucking boomers, okay, including even people that I know and love and respect. And I had, I think, an easier time cutting through that propaganda to show facts about how this thing that people were actually greatly overemphasizing was not a real thing that was going on. Obviously, years later, the same mainstream resources and legacy publishers started covering stuff like, oh, why is there a big crime panic? People think there is crime happening everywhere, but where they actually live. Is this real? You know, we saw all those headlines like years later, right? And, but it was, in my opinion, much easier to disparage and go through and critically examine those hysterical narratives when the mainstream media was doing it, as opposed to like random independent content creators, because I think people automatically assume, unless content creators have been around for a very long time and have developed baggage as a consequence of being around for a very long time, because, you know, when you're around for a very long time, you got a lot of fucking haters and a lot of people who have like a checklist of things that they can fucking yell at you over. Sometimes it's made up. In my case, many of it is just like complete fucking insanity, but it doesn't matter. It still gets the job across in terms of attacking someone's credibility. And then there are valid reasons to like disagree with people, but unless someone already has that pre-existing baggage, right? It's much more difficult to just like tackle the argument from a substantive perspective, because people literally have a higher degree of relatability and a higher degree of trust for a random dickhead with a microphone than they do when that random dickhead with a microphone is actually working for a CBS local news affiliate. It is pretty crazy.
So it's locked. We're ringing the doorbell here. Knocking on the door.
Here's a virtual tour of this daycare.
Nobody's picking up, so we're not sure what the hell's going on here, but we're gonna get out of here. Now there's somebody over there. Hey.
We're not sure what the hell is going on here, dude. Why did they do this? Probably to let's be real. They probably did it because it's a big conspiracy. It's like a Somali style conspiracy. Look at all the dude, they built this entire thing. Put it on their website specifically so they can steal money, I think. Look at that. We didn't have to go to Columbus, Ohio. And even on the internet, we were able to find at least more evidence. We were able to see the inside of the fucking facility that he's talking about. But notice how there are no children. Why are they not showing us the children? I wonder why. Perhaps because that would be fucking illegal. Ugh. Yeah, they're doing Somali-style AI on this, clearly.
How you doing, sir? I'm sure you see the reports over the weekend about all the daycare centers in Minnesota. We just wanted to see what was going on. Did you know anything about this place here?
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Did you ever see any kids there?
No, because they use the back door, so I won't know if they is.
They use the back door.
Yeah, I've never seen nobody come in it, but they use the back door.
But have you ever seen any kid? You live around here?
Yeah, on this building right here.
Oh, you're in this building?
Yeah.
You're in this building too? Hey, let me ask you, have you...
He's like, no, shut the fuck up. You already said that there's an alternative reason for why he might not have actually seen someone. Let me ask another person. Maybe he'll give me something better than that.
You ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. They use the back, so I've never seen nobody come out the front.
No, he's saying they're using the back door too. All the fuck!
You've never seen anybody over there?
No, not at all.
Yeah, oh, this is a good take. Imagine if Pablo Torre went to the Clippers front office and started screaming at some random secretary to call Steve Ballmer over to dispute the claim that he didn't acquire Kawhi Leonard's fraudulently. Everyone would laugh at Pablo. Yeah, also he'd get fucking sued into oblivion. And except even before that point, even before that happened, remember, Pablo Torre actually did investigation ahead of time, because that's how investigations work. You have to identify contracts. You have to look at inconsistencies, and then you have to move off of the inconsistencies. You can't just assume, for example, that a team is actually engaging in like fraudulent behavior and then go outside of the front office and start yelling and then be like, well, if they're not giving me the answers that I'm demanding, then that must be literally have a sign of release. The law is called FERPA.
I just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
So we came to the back, just like those guys suggested, and...
Yeah, NPR on the Nick Shirley video. University of Minnesota media law professor Jane Kirtley says new viral video is flashy but absent of facts to back up its claims, and its lack of transparency could be considered deceptive. Yeah, I know, but you're not a fucking YouTuber that's trying to ham up clout to the best of your ability, so you're not going to lean into the fucking veracity, or you're not going to lean into the fucking... you're not going to tarnish the credibility of Nick Shirley, you know? What the fuck do you know? You're just a goddamn media law professor, right? Obviously, biased. Let's keep yelling at the one fucking guy who is trying to bring some fucking common sense back to this conversation.
There's nothing here. Yeah, we can keep poking around, but there's so many of these centers to go to. We're just getting started. So we're gonna go around the city.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. What is this? Why is there nothing? Yeah. Why is there nothing on today's front page about a story that broke in 2022? Why? I know that like a lot of, you know the second thing that's going to come out of this, right? All the dumbasses
Man.
are going to fucking turn around and say, oh, these guys are such elitists. All of these hoity-toity media professionals with their college degrees are such elitists. They want to gatekeep the information. Okay? No, they're making fun of you because you're fucking stupid. I need you to understand. Is there truth to the fact that mainstream media obviously wants to gatekeep and control flows of information? Certainly. But in this circumstance, they're making fun of you because you're a stupid person. Okay? I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And it's, I think, important for this moment. If you've been duped by a video like this one, it's important for you to recognize that maybe you're not as smart as you thought you were, so you don't actually get duped again. A little bit of social stigma in this circumstance could be good for you. It could help you be a little bit more critical next time around. Okay? You can't combine your stupid with I need you to understand. They don't work together. I don't want to be pessimistic, but regardless, if they infinitely throw culture shit to try to stick to the wall, as long as nothing improves, then people will fall back on how the economy is terrible, which means discontent towards the right wing. What is the goal of the right wing except fascism to reinforce capitalism? I mean, this kind of stuff clearly is working, though. It's clearly working. You understand? This is discourse for the last like 3 days now. Nobody's talking about the Epstein stuff. Nobody's talking about the economy. Everyone is going, oh, classic liberals, classic libtards, classic leftists. They just want fraud to happen as long as it's Somalis doing the fraud. All Somalis are criminals or should be treated like criminals and maybe even deported, denaturalized and deported if they have American citizens. It's the same thing that happened with the fucking Haitians are eating cats and dogs thing. And before someone says, well, there were no Haitians eating cats and dogs, but there were some Somalis that were arrested and prosecuted and convicted for crimes, okay? There was a black woman who actually was experiencing a mental health episode and was literally trying to eat her cat. And people literally pointed to that to say, see, Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Notice how that's an identical situation now all of a sudden? Not in Springfield, by the way, but it doesn't fucking matter. That's my point. They're not in fucking, the last guy we looked at is not in Minnesota anymore. He's in fucking Columbus, Ohio. He's in Columbus, Ohio. What's he looking at? Somali-owned daycares. Okay, but it's basically all that you've been covering as well. Would love to hear about the Epstein stuff and the other news. Yes, the reason why I'm covering this is because I don't think there are a lot of independent reporters or independent commentary people out there that are looking at this with the level of scrutiny that it requires. Everyone is eating Nick Shirley's dick right now, all up and down the internet, from liberals, centrists, all the way to fucking right-wingers who understandably are going to do that regardless. And that's the reason why I have to combat it, because that's what I do. I combat misinformation. If there's a major fucking media narrative going around, if a major if there's a major super viral story that is built on shaky ground, of course I have to fucking, talk about it and identify exactly why it's wrong and bad to do this. New Minnesota man absolutely loses his mind during Nick Shirley's investigation into the fraud, accused him of wanting the Somali community in concentration camps. Shirley was seen keeping his cool as the man grew increasingly unhinged.
I want to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Why are you sensationalizing the propaganda?
What are we sensationalizing?
To attack our community. What's your final objective?
We're not attacking your community by any means.
Are you making good money from this?
We're looking for fraud.
No, I'm
For
not.
instance, can you answer our question? Where's Safari Transportation Company 607?
1 second.
It's not there.
How much money are you?
Answer the
How much
question.
money
Where's
are you
617
making?
Dreamline Security.
How much money are you
I
making
make
off
money
of
off
this?
of YouTube. That's how I make my money.
Exactly. So you're making money off of sensationalizing.
That my job
and attacking
is-
the Somali community.
I'm not attacking you guys. We're asking.
I'll tell you the
Fraud
reason why
fraud,
this is
sir.
happening. All right. Let me
David,
tell you the reason why you're
fraud is
attacking
fraud,
this.
correct?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with race. This is fraud.
This is absolutely has to do with us being Muslim.
No, it does not.
All right, and us being from Africa. This is a constitutional argument. If you don't want us here, change the freedom of religion. Say, listen, we don't want Muslims in this country anymore.
We're not saying
No,
that.
no, no, no.
We're not
Because
saying that.
when I go
Sir,
onto
we're
your
talking
comments,
about fraud. You're
when I go onto your comments,
My comments
what I
aren't
see
me.
is people that say we do not want Muslims here. Kick every single Muslim in Minnesota out of Minnesota.
That's a comment.
You are listen. You're
That's not what I'm
preparing.
saying.
You're preparing for the Somali community to maybe be taken to concentration camps, just like the Japanese community. All right, you're sensational.
I mean, the fact that people will look at this and act like this is hysterical is so silly, because that is precisely what the fucking Trump administration is already doing for other minority groups, all right? And that is what he has said and what Trump's fans are saying about the Somalis in not just Minneapolis, but seemingly wherever the fuck they are on U.S. soil. They're talking about denaturalizing the Somali Americans and shipping them out, saying that every single Somali is actually engaged in this, welfare fraud. That's not how any of this shit works.
No, we're
not.
All right,
Sir,
something that
answer
can
the
listen.
question. Where-
That's something
where
that can
is the transportation
something that
vehicle
can
company?
jeopardize.
Hassan, look at this with the
the
lens that it
safety and the
requires rather than a
protection
10-second
of the
take from a
Somali
mainstream
community. If anything
source. What?
happens to the Somali
talking about
community, listen,
fraud.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not physically touching
You're
him.
getting very close.
I'm not physically touching him. No, I'm not physically touching him.
This is fraud.
What
We're
you're
talking about
doing,
fraud.
what you're
You're
doing, what you're
defending
doing.
fraud.
When
You're
I go
defending
into your
fraud.
comments,
You're defending fraud.
people.
With the exception of the defendants themselves, who who turned around and said like, "Oh, this is racism. You should stop investigating us." Of course, they're gonna fucking say that. They're criminals. Okay. I have yet to hear from a single fucking Somali person in Minneapolis that has said, "Oh, don't arrest the fraudulent people." As a matter of fact, every single Somali person in Minneapolis is saying, "Of course, you're gonna fucking investigate and throw into prison the people that have been conducting this fucking widespread fraud." Is so stupid.
Who hate Muslims, who want us out of here
people can say
for
what they
being
want. I'm not
Muslim,
censoring
are
anybody.
using your material. Islamophobes use your material. People who hate Islam use your material. Say to us, we don't want you here. Change the Constitution. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Guess what?
Say it. We're asking about
You
fraud.
know, what
We're
you
asking
do.
about fraud.
You hate Muslims.
I'm not saying I hate
You
Muslims.
hate
We're
you know
talking
you
about
hate
fraud.
Muslims.
We're talking
Why are
about
you
fraud.
attacking us? Are we the
fraud.
only community that suffers because of fraud?
We're talking about
Are
fraud.
we the only community?
I'm going to move on from this. I'm going to move on from this by showing you the purpose here, the primary purpose of what this kind of propaganda serves, right? Stephen Miller, who is not a random person, as you guys know, very important figure in the Trump administration under Trump 1 and Trump 2, Stephen Miller, says, what's interesting about Stephen Miller says, someone should write an alternative historical novel where Americans are the first to master the automobile, the first in flight, the first to harness the atom, the first to land on the moon, but just keep going and never open our borders to the entire third world for 60 years. Stephen Miller has talked about denaturalizing immigrants as well. James Surowiecki says, what's interesting about Miller's recent rants on immigration is that he's not talking about illegal immigration. He's attacking legal immigration from anywhere other than Europe and Japan. And, as in this tweet, saying the U.S. would have been much better off without it. That's obviously a very common position on right-wing Twitter, but it's unusual to see a high-placed White House effectively saying to Latino and South Asian immigrants, who are the vast majority of legal immigrants over the past 60 years, it'd be better if you'd never come. What Miller is implicitly calling for in that tweet is the repeal of the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, which reformed the U.S. immigration system and made it easier for people outside of Europe to migrate here. Again, that's a very common position on the right, but oddly, not something Republicans of Congress have shown any interest in doing. That is their goal. Also, Matt Gaetz, former Trump Attorney General pick, had sex with underage girl while in Congress, White House ethics report says. And also, another Floridian, Florida school district cut ties in 2022 with Florida GOP candidate James Fishback over sexual misconduct allegations involving a minor. Fishback has called the allegations that he had inappropriate relationship with a female student who was a minor completely false. This is the yeah-based guy that Asmongold was championing the other day. Yeah-based. It's just weird how it keeps happening, you know? Fork found in the kitchen, but it is what it is. That's what we got to deal with. All right. You're just now telling me for the first time. What is this shit account? But this just happened? The Trump administration has officially frozen all child care payments for Minnesota following reports of major fraud. They've also launched a fraud reporting portal at childcare.gov. Tim Walz has received a demand letter from HHS ordering a full audit of potentially... Oh, my God. Great. This is the power of citizen journalism. Thank you. Thank you, Nick Shirley. You did it. You did it. Children will not be able to go to a child care facility now. Or the child care facilities that exist will be in an even worse state of disrepair because they can't get fucking federal funds. Awesome. Hell yeah. And before people say, why don't they, what, you love fraud? No, I don't. And there's a reason why the investigation was being conducted already into whether or not there was fraud going on without actually freezing all the fucking funds, the child care facilities. Now, children have to suffer. Not just Somali children either. White children will also suffer as well in Minneapolis. Great. Isn't the real investigation over? No, there's subsequent investigations that have been launched post the initial investigation. It's so crazy that, like, Twitter clout is enough to move the entire administration. If you can't understand how dangerous this is, how devastating this is, how much, if you cannot comprehend how awful this shit is and what it spells for America's future, I don't know what to tell you. We are fucking objectively cooked. Okay? We are done. This country is over. The American project is done. A bunch of hysterical weirdos can foment a narrative, cook up a narrative. What is this? This was the other part left out of the vid. Journalist Nick Shirley surrounded as he tries to find a company called Advanced Mobility.
Get the fuck out. He's recording. Get out of here.
I don't think Twitter clout moved the administration. They're cynically using it to enact more cruelty. I know. But it's enough. The Twitter clout is enough for people to go along with it without thinking about like how silly or dangerous this is. Anyway, I don't give a fuck about this kid anymore. All right, let's look at the last piece of right-wing infighting. Let's look at something funny. Alex Jones is taking the gloves off. I was going to say you were good to stay, but since you don't get the purpose of that video, it might be better for y'all in Somalia. Ha, we've all had enough Muslims and Somalians, so it's best not to be defending them right now or you'll just be in the same group. This is from a DM conversation I had with someone I know about this video. This shit's got real-world consequences. Yeah, it's just the expanding permission structure on people being white supremacists. All right, anyway. No, the chatter is saying that, like, his conservative fucking friends are saying shit like that to him. The whole point is it gives people free roam to be racist.
I remember saying to them, like I said, I got to investigate her now. I got a bad feeling. I didn't have a bad feeling. God gave me a good brain. I already knew. I dropped the ball. I apologize. She's a globalist agent.
Oh, shit. Clandis is a globalist agent? Oh, hell yeah.
The ball and I failed you and I'm sorry. I got to follow my gut every time. It's never wrong. And I saw so much more she did. And I love her people threatening me and all their doxing of people and all that. You think that's going to make me go away? All you did was wake me up like a nuclear test site waking up Godzilla. So just get your asses ready because you want a war?
That's right. Strap me to a Tomahawk missile and direct me in clandestine direction. I'm over it. I'll do it.
I want your war. I want it all. I want the doxing. I want the lies. I want the attacks. I'm going to take you.
That's a dog whistle for working for the Jews, right? Brother, I don't know how to report this to you, but Alex Jones is not the bigger anti-Semite in this conversation. It brings me no pleasure to report this, but actually Alex Jones is the one who is saying Clandis is working for the globalists, but is actually attacking Clandis partially because Clandis is doing anti-Semitism the wrong way. Okay? You're the only person in the world that smiles when listening to Alex Jones. Why? He's my goat.
You are. Because you work for the deep state and the Democratic Party and the CIA and MI6, and I see your ass. So you just get ready.
Bro, Nick Fuentes gets more viewers than you. Lemafea, holy shit, that's crazy. Yeah, it's fucking botted. Okay? It's not okay to punch Nazi, by the way. Stop violence, weirdos. I suspect this is a botted my ass. Dude, I love that you literally went from trying to be like, I'm an anarchist. It's not okay to punch Nazis, by the way. Stop violence, weirdos. Oh, wait. No, you were being sincere. Okay, I just realized. Oh, no, you are a fucking Nazi. That's so funny. Botted my ass. Yeah, no, totally. Those are real numbers. That's legit cope. Is it? Is it legit cope? The real meta is with Clandis. Let's be real. Candace Owens owns Nick Fuentes. That's real. That's a real audience.
This ain't my first rodeo.
That's why Alex Jones is coming after her. That's legit coke. One day. You sure she ain't botting? No, I checked. I don't think Candace is botting. Okay. Everything that Alex Jones used to say about a global pedo elite cabal existing was correct, but he's stuck doing shit like this. I know.
I don't know.
Such a sad state of affairs for the GOAT, dude. Look how far the mighty have fallen. Literally, he said there was a deep state elite pedophilic cabal. That's number one. He said Democrats would start rounding up people, kidnapping them, and throwing them in concentration camps. That's also happening. It's just not the Democrats doing it, right? And in this beautiful moment where Alex Jones could just straight up say, look, I was right about everything. He can't say it no more because he's compromised. He's up the asshole of this administration that's doing all that shit. So he has to sit there and defend it.
Always hang out on Christmas Eve or New Year's with my labubu. But when I do, I hang out with this little particular guy right here. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He's a populist. He's a freedom fighter. He's libertarian.
People got real mad at him too. I have the same labubu as Alex Jones, by the way, which is crazy. Yes, I do have the same exact one. Did you listen to Coast AM when you were younger? I could totally see you having that on in the background doing homework in college. No, but I've been an Alex Jones fan for many, many years from afar. The concept of Alex Jones having a normal family home and Christmas tree, yep, that's real.
Believes in team humanity.
You know what's really funny about this, by the way? His fans literally were like, "Oh, you're a part of the deep state satanic pedophilic cabal because this is a Pazuzu. This is a satanic thing." He got hit with the cancel culture beam from his own fan base, so we had to go, for everyone flipping out, believing this is some type of secret satanic message. Let me clarify things for you. My 21-year-old daughter got one as a joke and asked me to make a joke meme. I don't get much of it, but she said it would be fun. We are going to blow up the Labubu soon at the shooting range with Tenorite, and that will make it all okay. Winky face. Yeah, he's audience captured. Okay, let's watch something that's like somewhat fun, I guess. Let's do a yearly dose of good news.
Renewable energy generated more electricity than coal for the first time in history. In medicine,
China. Okay, let's continue.
Doctors can now effectively treat newborn babies for malaria, something that was impossible until this year.
Okay, vaccine conspiracy, not good. No, I'm kidding. That's a good thing, but
dozens of endangered animal species are recovering around the world. And the Pacific just got a marine protected area half the size of China. I'm Freddy, this is good news, and this is our biggest episode of the year, as we're looking at the biggest wins of 2025. Our first story brings incredible news for the planet. For the first time ever, renewable energy generated more electricity than coal globally. Between January and June, renewables supplied over 5,000 terawatt hours worldwide, surpassing coal for the first time. China and India drove most of this shift, despite rising energy demand from economic growth. China's solar grew by 43% and wind by 16% compared to last year. Despite coal still being the largest energy source at 58%, renewables have expanded rapidly. And India saw even bigger renewable jumps. Wind and solar increased by 29% and 31%. This helped the country reduce coal and gas use by over 3%. All of this pushed the world past another big milestone. More than 40% of global electricity now comes from low-carbon sources. Europe played a major role in hitting that milestone. Data released this year shows the European Union already generated 71% of its electricity from clean sources in 2024, with solar accounting for 11%, surpassing coal for the first time as well. Just to put the scale of solar into perspective, global solar generation is now large enough to power.
This is making me realize that you only cover bad news on your broadcast, Lamau. Brother, an entire year passed by, and the only thing he's talking about is oh God, this is all financial relief in Australia, the world's largest marine, major wins for forest protections, real-time emission tracking, endangered species recovering, and well, I guess he already summarized it, but it's like, it's just, It's 60 minutes long, and most of it is in the field of renewables and preservation, which is good. It's a good thing. Okay. Lion's share coming from China, and not even because like they have consistently increased their renewable grid, but also because they're literally facilitating the renewable energy initiatives with their productive output. Even this green energy push is happening predominantly outside of the West, despite the U.S. trying to undermine it. Yeah, not to be that guy, but I am going to be that fucking guy. We are literally actively looking at the situation, realizing that China owns a complete monopoly over rare earth minerals, and have decided that we are going to knock out the table in its entirety by doubling up our focus on oil and gas, because that's the one energy source that we have at least some control over. So, you know, what is this? Well, look what's trending on Twitter. You read again, but too early. Oh, Rick Scott's 1990s healthcare fraud scandal resurfaces in the Minnesota debate. Oh, hell yeah. I love that. I love that fucking slander. Let's go. It's not even slander. It's accurate. India completely relies on China for their solar cells. Everybody relies completely on China pretty much for their solar. China is responsible for almost all the batteries, the rare earth minerals that need to be processed and refined for the batteries. They're responsible for all of the output in general, pretty much all the output in general. This is part of the reason why America doesn't want to work with renewables. A big part of the whole... Okay, you guys want to hear something about renewable energy that is somewhat of a conspiracy? I think the reason why you don't really hear about climate change as much nowadays, under the Trump administration, of course, you're not going to hear about it, but even like liberals don't talk about it, is because the story about climate change from the American perspective is not about climate change. The story about climate change from the American perspective is about Chinese dominance, Chinese control over the energy, Chinese control over renewable energies in particular. China completely controls the processing of all of the materials you need for renewable energy. They also have overproduced. They've also overproduced the solar panels. Their productive output is far beyond what profit margins would normally dictate. And the reason why they're overproducing is because, and Xi Jinping has talked about it as well, the reason why they're overproducing is because they're making it as cost effective as possible to swap over, okay, to switch over to renewable energies for all these other countries. Many countries are actually recognizing that it is becoming cost effective to lean into renewable energies for the first time ever. And this is the reason why they're swapping over their grids. The problem from the American perspective is that this undermines oil and gas. This undermines the position or the reliance that people have on oil and gas, especially not in the short term, but certainly in the long term. Okay? And once the entire world moves away from the petrodollar and does a full-blown green transition, then all of a sudden, China will have a tremendous upper hand over the United States of America and all the oil and gas giants. Because all of a sudden, now they have complete monopoly over the refinement and the procurement of rare earth minerals. Okay? They already have it, but it will be far more consequential and offer them far more power in the global stage when they are the singular, the only party that controls the entirety of the output. Okay? It's like if America was single-handedly the only oil and gas country on the planet. No Saudi Arabia, no OPEC plus, just America. They already have a cartel. America has tremendous control over the cartel. But having said that, imagine if the United States of America was the only oil and gas provider around the entire planet. That's what it would look like. From the American perspective, that's what they're fearful of. And instead of investing, which at this point it might be far too late anyway, instead of investing in like procurement and refinement outside of China, which they are leaning in the direction of a little bit, you know, going to Australia and other places, right? It might be far too late to do so at this stage because their productive capabilities are far, far more efficient. The Chinese productive capabilities are far more efficient in this regard. It's much easier to lean into the incredibly cost-effective grids that China is providing. That's the real reason why America is not talking about climate change don't care about climate change and are leaning into the oil and gas industry.
Oh, well, you know, that disrupts the market. China has disrupted the market. China is not a free market economy. We tried. We let them into the World Trade Organization. We sent our businesses over.
By the way, the only reason why China has disrupted the market and they're not a free market economy, for the record, is because they don't. Because there is central control over every capitalist country as well. We have a process called subsidies in the United States of America and in many Western liberal democracies, right? We subsidize energy production in this country. Problem is, we don't actually, by design, control how those subsidies are utilized. Some of the subsidies are obviously utilized to make it as cost effective as possible, but it's virtually impossible to combat against China. Like in automation, we have subsidies for automation. It's virtually impossible to combat Chinese automation, though, because although they control flows of capital and have central planning in that regard, they're incredibly efficient and far more cost effective in their output. So these guys are mad that China is playing the same game that they're playing, but they're playing it better. The only way to beat China in this situation would be to become like China, but they won't do that. Obviously, that would mean scary socialism, scary communism, and that's not what these countries are designed to do. These countries are designed to continue capitalist hegemony around the globe at the behest of the profit motive for capital owners. So instead, they're just trying to blow the whistle on the referees. The elite are butthurt because they were rushing to control it and destabilize oil rotation so they could control China the way we manipulate Europe, but we overplayed our hand in oil and underplayed the technology card, and now China eventually will have no American energy restraints. Well, that's far, far into the future. And even if they were to become like China overnight, let's say magically, I wave my magic wand and the United Socialist States of America is implemented, is initiated. We now have central planning, and we're working on creating a robust industrial base once again. The amount of time necessary for American productivity to catch up to China is at least a couple decades, with no guarantees that we'll ever catch up to China at all. Now, of course, there's an alternative vision out there, which is to stop fighting against China, stop presenting China as a foreign adversary, and instead cooperate with them, as we are currently cooperating with them under a capitalist organization of the economy. Okay? And no, we're not only 6 years behind. We are behind in terms of developing a manufacturing capability even close to what the Chinese have had like for 2 decades. We are far behind. We're we're 30 years behind, not 6. I wish we were 6 years behind. That's manageable. That's salvageable. We are 30 years behind China. And that's the most, that estimate is the nicest estimate that I can give to the United States of America, if we're being real.
There, we made trade deals. They are a controlled.
Tucker Carlson is talking about curbing private equity, killing your pets. Hakeem Jeffries authorized a military package to send F-15s to Israel. Dems are cooked. Yeah. No, that's what because Israel is not about Israel. Israel's not even about the genocide. The genocide is secondary. The American government doesn't give a fuck about brown people being slaughtered, okay? The American government is making a bet on Israel, dominating the region, and making a bet on the region in general in terms of its productive capabilities in the realm of energy. Okay? So Israel is not about Israel at all. Israel is about China. Everything is about China. Every single thing that the American government does ultimately goes back to China. It's about establishing a better position against China. The problem is we're fighting a very different fight. Israel is about oil. Of course, everything is about oil if you really think about it. It's about continuing the petrodollar dominance. And the way to do so is by making sure that there is a powerful entity that is a vassal state in the region that is resource rich with this singular resource that we're talking about, that will completely keep all of the OPEC partners at bay and will destabilize if necessary and will attack whenever they see fit. Israel is not even about Israel. Israel has a Greater Israel project that happens to align with America's interests of making sure that Israel is the domineering force in the region. But it's the same with Venezuela. Venezuela is not about destroying Venezuela. Venezuela is not just about stealing Venezuelan natural resources, specifically oil. Venezuela is also about China. Venezuela is about Latin America, the dominoes that will fall in the rest of the Latin American countries that are now developing better relationships with China, all the way up to Mexico, as a matter of fact. Everything still goes back to China and combating the rise of China. I have some knowledge on this topic from a policy perspective. The U.S. is far behind on not just generation, but you need ultra-high voltage transmission lines, transformers, battery storage, and upstream feedstock. All the basic components, e.g. mining needed for electrical infra, is state-owned. The U.S., meanwhile, is facing a crisis in supplying transmission infrastructure. China is cooked demographically, though. By 2050, they're expected to lose 250 million people, and their median age is expected to be 54. Immigration, though being suppressed by the current regime, will allow America's economy to be productive for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I mean, China could also do that as well. I just don't think that they will. That's very not Chinese of them to do so. I don't call it Chinese dominance. I just call it dominance. That's just a peek at how Chinese my mind has become. I feel you. Not being combative, just curious, if Israel is so tied to America's wants and needs, why do countries like England and Germany fight so hard to defend Israel, for example, by arresting Palestinian protesters? Are they also a subset of America in this sense? Or think America being top dog is worth it? Yes, they are. They're vassal states. Yes. The answer to all of your questions is yes. Meanwhile, the other side of this is, maybe, something that I've been railing against for the past fucking 2 days, but like, we do have a crisis in education in this country too. We have a crisis in basically every aspect. Okay? Shit's running on autopilot, leaning into the previous gains that we made from a modicum of socialization and all the government programs that we once had, the infrastructure that we once developed. Okay? But we're too busy. What is this tweet? Anyone who's been around illegal and low-income immigrants before knows Minnesota daycare scams are just the tip of the iceberg. This is all happening all over the country at a $1 trillion scale. Voters enable it because of white guilt, politicians because of votes. Yeah, this is kind of what I was saying. We're too busy doing this shit, so we're never gonna actually solve any of these problems. I have no belief, no confidence in the American population in terms of just like getting our shit together. It is pretty funny that Asmongold, this is like whenever he talks about women or like hoes, it's funny. Anyone who's been around illegal and low-income immigrants, brother, you've been around no one. You've been around no humans, let alone illegal and low-income immigrants. Famous guy, famous for never leaving his home, being like, I'm always around low-income immigrants, guys. And trust me when I tell you, I'm speaking from a position of authority. It's like, bro, you don't leave your house. The fuck? They invented a new Chinese political spectrum and you're in it? That's crazy low on the spectrum. Also, you put Michael from Pennsylvania higher than Eric, who literally has moved to China. Okay? Michael from Pennsylvania has never been to China. Eric literally has changed his entire life and now lives in China. That's crazy. Whoever wrote this is a major dick rider of Michael from Pennsylvania. Notice how his name is Michael from Pennsylvania and not Michael from Beijing or Michael from Shanghai. Both myself and Austin Show need to take higher priority on the highest of the Chinese spectrum, higher than Michael from Pennsylvania and not Michael from Chengdu, for example. Yeah. Person who's never stepped foot in China being placed at the top here is crazy. You don't do a daily China glaze? Yeah, because China daily glazes me. The Global Times did an interview with me that I didn't even read on the broadcast about how to make China cool. That's right. Also, I'm the only person who can sing Red Sun in the Sky. Damn, this guy's good.